Chapter 218. The small Lane temple had been destroyed. When Jin Luan said this, not only Jun Haoyin, but even Emperor Xia looked at him in shock. This news was too shocking for them. What kind of place was the small Lane temple? It was one of the three major Buddhist sects in the Western Desert. It had hundreds of thousands of years of history and was comparable to the 7 sacred grounds of the Eastern Wilderness. Although there was no supreme weapon in the Buddhist sects, the small Lane temple had once produced a supreme Buddha. It definitely had a trump card that could rival a supreme weapon. But now Jin Luan had said that the small Lane temple had been destroyed. This news was simply too inconceivable. No one would have believed it if it had come from an ordinary person. They might even have laughed at it. But now this news was personally announced by Jin Luan, the Arhat of the Vajra temple. Monks did not lie. How could Jin Luan the Arhat lie? Moreover, the 3 major Buddhist sects in the Western Desert had always been united. Even if there was some conflict, it was about Buddhism. It was not like the 7 sacred grounds of the human race, where there was constant infighting. They would go to war for small benefits. To the Buddhist sects, there was no such thing as framing each other. Therefore, what Jin Luan had said was most likely true. However, the destruction of the small Lane temple was too shocking. This was comparable to the destruction of a sacred ground of the human race. Even Emperor Xia had a look of disbelief on his face. Although he was the top prodigy of the central region, he knew how terrifying the Buddhist sects in the Western Desert were. But now, the small Lane temple, one of the 3 major Buddhist sects, had been destroyed just like that. Wasn't this a little too shocking? Jin Luan, what is going on? After a moment of silence, Jun Haoyin looked at Jin Luan and asked in a grave tone. He clearly remembered that everything was fine when he left the small Lane temple. There was no danger in the small Lane temple, and Lord Fazhen and the divine monk were all normal. There was no sign of the destruction of the sect. But he had only left for less than a month, and the small Lane temple had been destroyed. Furthermore, during this entire process, not a single trace of information was leaked out. If Jin Luan Bodhisattva had not come to inform him today, he would have been kept in the dark. The connection between the Western Desert and the other regions was basically cut off, and news spread even more slowly. However, the small Lane temple was one of the 3 great Buddhist sects of the Western Desert. This was definitely a major event that would shock the entire martial god continent. However, judging from the current situation, he and Xia Qianzi were the first people in the Eastern Wilderness to know about this. As the holy son of the Langya Holy Land, whenever something big happened on the mainland, someone would report to him. But now, the destruction of the small Lane temple was never mentioned. He needed Jin Luan Arhat to personally inform him of this news. In the Western Desert, the small Thunder Temple had given Jun Haoyin many benefits. Therefore, Jun Haoyin had already made up his mind to investigate this matter thoroughly. At this moment in the main hall, Jin Luan Arhat heard Jun Haoyin's question and sighed softly. The Titanium Temple has also investigated the destruction of the small Lane temple, but we did not find anything. Now, the area within 10,000 miles of the small Lane temple is covered by a mysterious fog. My master and I personally went to the small Lane temple to investigate, but when we arrived, the entire small Lane temple had disappeared, leaving behind a bottomless abyss. Jin Luan Arhat spoke slowly, his tone very conflicted. To be honest, Jun Haoyin was not the only one who could not believe what he had seen. As the Arhat of the Titanium Temple, he did not know when the small Lane temple had been destroyed. Even he was a little frightened by this situation. Silently, the entire small Lane temple had been destroyed right under the noses of the other 2 great Buddhist sects. This kind of method was enough to make everyone terrified. Even his master, the abbot of the Titanium Temple, did not notice anything strange. The entire small Lane temple had disappeared, leaving behind a bottomless abyss. After that, Jin Luan Arhat sent many people to search for the disciples of the small Lane temple. However, they did not find anything. All this meant that the entire small Lane temple had been destroyed. Other than this, there was no other explanation. After hearing Jin Luan Arhat's explanation, Jun Haoyin frowned. A great power comparable to the Holy Lands had actually disappeared without a trace just like that? No one would believe this news even if it was spread. Alright, is the change in the small Lane temple related to the changes in the Middle Continent and Eastern Wilderness? At this moment, Jun Haoyin suddenly thought of Mount Tai and Penglai. Although these changes happened in 2 different places, they happened at the same time. All of them were filled with strangeness. Now that the same strange change had happened in the Western Desert, Jun Haoyin could not help but think of the connection between them. When Emperor Xia heard this, he nodded in agreement. That is possible. However, if these three changes were related, the situation might be even worse. This meant that the current martial god continent could have such changes at any time. Even parts of the land. My master also mentioned this before. He said that there is an 80 to 90% chance that there is a connection between these three anomalies. However, even he could not figure out what the connection is. Jinluan Arhat said slowly, acknowledging Jun Haotian's words. Recently, there had been a lot of changes in the martial god continent. It was beyond everyone's expectations, let alone the Western Desert. Even the 4 imperial lords of the Middle Continent and the 7 holy masters of the Eastern Wilderness could not figure out the origin of these changes. Everyone had a feeling that this was a sign of a great calamity. A calamity that would sweep across the entire martial god continent, a calamity that no cultivator could avoid. Until now, 3 regions on the martial god continent had already undergone major changes. Now, only the Northern Sea and the southern border were left. Needless to say, the Northern Sea was where the demon race was sealed. Apart from Emperor Realm powerhouses, no one could enter. As for the southern border monster race, there was no news yet. However, in Jun Haotian's opinion, it was not far away. Is the Arhat here to ask me to go to the Western Desert? Jun Haotian asked slowly. The Titanium Temple probably knew about his relationship with the small Thundersound Temple. Otherwise, they would not have come to find him personally. If it were not for this, the Western Desert Arhat, who had always been isolated from the world, would not have appeared at the Langya Grand event. Jinluan Arhat did not deny this. He said bluntly, "That's right. The holy son of Hao Tian recited the Mahayana Buddha in the Western Desert. This is a great merit. It is not difficult for him to attain the Buddha realm. This change is very likely to endanger the entire Western Desert. Therefore, my master asked me to come and ask the holy son of Hao Tian for help." Jinluan Arhat, who was the top genius of the Western Desert, bowed slowly to Jun Haotian. This attitude was enough to prove his sincerity. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Seeing this scene, the Emperor of Heavenly Summer was shocked to the extreme. What did the holy son of Hao Tian do to make the Western Desert Arhat ask him for help? However, the Emperor of Heavenly Xia was certain that he had found the right person. The holy son of Hao Tian was more powerful than he had imagined. However, he soon realized that if Jun Haotian went to the Western Desert with Jinluan Arhat, there would be no one to work with him after Mount Tai opened. The Emperor of Heavenly Xia was anxious. When he took a step forward and said to Jinluan Arhat, "No, Brother Haotian just agreed to go to Mount Tai with me. He cannot go to the Western Desert with you." No matter how powerful Xia Tianzi was, he would not dare to take the risk without Jun Haotian's accompaniment when facing Mount Tai's strangeness. The Emperor of Heavenly Xia would not allow Jinluan Arhat to take Jun Haotian with him. Amit Ba, this concerns the billions of lives in the Western Desert. I hope you can understand. Jinluan Arhat said solemnly. After all, Buddhist disciples were not the only ones in the entire Western Desert. There were also countless mortals. Jun Haotian felt helpless when he saw the two of them acting this way. In fact, in Jun Haotian's heart, whether it was the mystery of Mount Tai or the changes in the Western Desert, he wanted to investigate both. However, these two things were happening at the same time. It was difficult for him to choose. Humph, what does the Western Desert have to do with me? Haotian must go to Heartland with me. The Emperor of Heavenly Xia did not back down in the face of Jinluan Arhat's moral coercion. Suddenly, the Emperor of Heavenly Xia's expression changed drastically. Oh no! The Emperor of Heavenly Xia's expression was extremely ugly. He looked shocked. Jun Haotian and Jinluan Arhat looked at each other in confusion. The Emperor of Heavenly Xia took out a jade talisman. Tao Xian light flowed on the jade talisman. It was extremely dazzling. Clearly, this jade talisman was a good treasure. Just now, my father sent me a message. He said that the martial god continent's world barrier and mark of respect are gradually weakening. The world barrier is also thinning. The paragon mark had disappeared and the world barrier was thinning. This meant that martial artists from other continents could enter the martial god continent at will. The martial god continent would be exposed to the other continents. The other continents had known the martial god continent's location a long time ago. However, the martial god continent was still in the top 10 of the 3,000 worlds back then. At that time, the martial god continent's world barrier was very thick. The powerful martial artists from other continents could not break through the world barrier. Moreover, every paragon would add their mark to the world barrier to prevent the powerful martial artists from other continents from spying on them. Therefore, it was impossible for the powerful martial artists from other continents to enter the martial god continent. The most powerful martial artists in the realm of deities were the paragons. Unless a living paragon was still alive, no one could break through the paragon mark in the world barrier. The strongest outsider would have the supreme mark in the world barrier obstructing him more intensely. For example, the divine monster continent could only send an immortal realm martial artist like Demon King Jiao. That was the limit. Emperor realm martial artists could not enter the martial god continent. Moreover, every time an outsider entered the martial god continent, they had to pay a heavy price. Under such circumstances, the powerful martial artists from other continents naturally did not dare to enter the martial god continent easily. At that moment, the paragon mark and the world barrier of the martial god continent were weakening. This meant that the powerful martial artists from other continents would be able to enter the martial god continent easily. When the 5 decay of the heavens descended, the paragon mark and the world barrier would completely disappear. At that time, the powerful martial artists from other continents would not have any difficulty entering the martial god continent. They could come and go as they pleased. And now, things were developing in this direction. Mount Tai is about to open. The true calamity of the martial god continent is about to descend. At that moment, Emperor Xia looked at Jun Haoyin and Jinluan Arhat with a serious expression. His relaxed demeanor from before had completely disappeared. No matter what, as people from the martial god continent, they naturally did not want some outsiders to destroy this place. When the 5 decay of the heavens descended, their opponents would be the peerless geniuses from other continents. How did it happen so quickly? Jinluan Arhat was stunned when he heard that. This was clearly beyond his expectations. As for the 5 decay of the heavens, everyone present knew about it, so there was no need for too much explanation. Originally, according to their estimation, there should be a year or a few months before the true calamity descended. Judging from the current situation, the calamity had arrived earlier. I'm not too sure about this either, but according to my father's estimation, Mount Tai will open in 7 days. Emperor Xia shook his head when he heard that. He only looked at Jun Haoyin and Jinluan Arhat. In the next instant, dragon roars could be heard from Emperor Xia's body. Golden heavenly dragons slowly circled around his body. His entire body exuded the aura of an emperor, as if he had become high and mighty. The terrifying aura that he exuded was especially intimidating. It made people want to bow down and worship him. It was extremely terrifying. Jinluan Arhat, Brother Haoyin must come with me. I hope you can understand. At that moment, Emperor Xia's aura was like a rainbow, suppressing Jinluan Arhat. If Jinluan Bodhisattva said no, he would attack immediately. Right now, the number 1 prodigy of the central continent and the number 1 prodigy of the western desert were clashing. Could happen at any moment. Amit Ba, Almsgiver Xia, you don't have to do this. Before we came, Master said that the holy son of Haoyin only needs to reach the western desert within a month. Within this month, the Titanium Temple and Shenkong Temple will do our best to control the abyss at the small Layin Temple. Jinluan Arhat did not show any intention of fighting against Emperor Xia's might. He only looked at Jun Haoyin calmly and spoke slowly. According to the Vermilion Bird Emperor's estimation, Mount Tai would open in 7 days. Therefore there was no conflict between these two matters. Why didn't you say so earlier? Emperor Xia was taken aback when he heard that. He immediately retracted his aura and resumed his lazy demeanor. Chapter 219. Haha, it was all a misunderstanding. I hope you don't take offense. Actually, I've always admired the Arhat's character. At that moment, Emperor Xia's imperial aura was nowhere to be seen. Instead, he exuded a treacherous aura. Jinluan was taken aback when he heard Emperor Xia's words. Even Jun Haoyin did not know whether to laugh or cry when he saw Emperor Xia's sudden change in attitude. No one would have expected that Emperor Xia, the number 1 prodigy of the central region, who was born with the aura of an emperor, would be such a shameless person. However, it was also because of Emperor Xia's unpretentious attitude that the 3 of them felt much better. At least, in Jun Haoyin's eyes, Emperor Xia and Jinluan were people worth befriending. At the same time, to Emperor Xia and Jinluan, Jun Haoyin was an extremely unfathomable person. In that case, it's settled. 7 days later, I'll head to Mount Tai with Brother Xia. I'll head to the western desert after I'm done with Mount Tai. Jun Haoyin finally made up his mind after a moment's thought. Jinluan and Emperor Xia naturally did not have any objections. The 2 of them nodded in satisfaction. Now, the 3 of them were on the same side for the time being. In the face of the heavenly decay, they naturally knew that their enemies from now on would be peerless prodigies from various major worlds. Among these prodigies, There would even be those who were ranked in the top 10 of the 3,000 worlds. They did not dare to let their guard down in the face of this. In that case, I've completed my mission this time. I wanted to drink with the two of you, but now that the calamity is coming, the Western Desert will not be exempt. We still need to prepare well. At that moment, Jin Luan spoke with a regretful tone. You Buddhists can drink too? Emperor Xia was shocked when he heard that. Would the holy son of Buddhism in front of him violate the rules of Buddhism? Wine and meat pass through the intestines, but the Buddha stays in the heart. Once you've comprehended Buddhism to the deepest level, you don't need to care about this at all. Arhat Jin Luan chuckled when he heard that. Although Arhat Jin Luan's tone was casual, it was very convincing. I didn't think that the Arhat would have such a side to him. No matter, there will be plenty of time in the future. After this calamity, we will have plenty of opportunities. At this moment, Jun Haoyin looked at the two of them and could not help but ask. After this conversation, the relationship between the few of them instantly became much closer. These three represented the strongest geniuses of the martial god continent. They had become friends. On the path of cultivation, on the path to becoming a supreme sovereign. Not only were there troublesome enemies, but there were also companions who were fighting alongside him. Alright, it's a deal then, Emperor Xia said with a smile. After that, the three of them chatted for a while. After that, Arhat Jinluan was the first to bid farewell, saying that he had to return to the Western Desert to prepare in advance. As for Xia Tianzi, he stayed for a short while before taking his leave. He repeatedly reminded Jun Haoyin not to forget their agreement. Mount Tai was about to open, so he naturally had to go back and make some preparations. As for Jun Haoyin, he stayed in the Great Heaven Palace to cultivate, quietly waiting for the Great Trial to descend. The weakening of the Supreme Seal and the thinning of the world barrier naturally could not be kept a secret for long. As expected, not long after Arhat Jinluan and Emperor Xia left, the Holy Lord of Langya, Tao Xian, arrived at the Great Heaven Palace. Tao Xian went straight to Jun Haoyin and said with a complicated expression, "The great trial that you mentioned might really be coming," Tao Xian said as soon as he stepped into the Great Heaven Palace. At this moment he looked at Jun Haoyin with a solemn expression. As the sacred lord of a sacred land, Tao Xian naturally knew about the Supreme Seal and the World Barrier. He was also very familiar with the Supreme Seal and the World Barrier. The moment the Supreme Seal and the World Barrier changed, Tao Xian also sensed it. He was not any slower than the Vermilion Bird Emperor. After sensing these changes, Tao Xian's expression changed drastically. According to the records of the martial god continent, once this happened, it would be a sign of the Great Trial. At this moment, the Langya Sacred Land's Central Plaza was still in progress. However, no one realized that the Linglong Sacred Lord, the Jade Lake Sacred Lord, and the others had already left. People from the other forces also stood up to leave. Everything happened so suddenly that no one could react in time. Fortunately, the Great Trial was almost done, so Tao Xian did not pay attention to these things. At this moment, their focus was on the Great Trial that was about to come. Everyone knew that this calamity was related to all of them. Everyone had to treat this Great Trial seriously. How are our preparations? Jun Haoyin had already guessed Tao Xian's intention and immediately asked. Previously, Jun Haoyin had already ordered the Langya Sacred Land to prepare for the Great Trial. Fortunately, they were prepared in advance and were not in a hurry like the other forces. Almost. The spirit arrays inside the Sacred Land have all been reinforced and are being suppressed by the Langya Mountain and River diagram. Now, unless an Emperor Realm Master descends with a supreme artifact, it is impossible to break through the defenses of the Langya Sacred Land. As for the disciples, they were too scattered previously. It will be difficult to summon all of them back to the Sacred Land in such a short time. Tao Xian spoke slowly and explained the preparations made by the Langya Sacred Land during this time. They were actually using a supreme artifact to suppress the Sacred Land's defensive spirit arrays. If this was in normal times, it would be impossible to do so. Because if a supreme artifact was used to suppress the spirit arrays, it would mean that everyone's foundation was put into defense. However, in a great battle, unparalleled defense alone was useless. However, the current Langya Sacred Land was different from the past. Even if they used the Langya Mountain and River diagram to suppress the spirit arrays, they still had the without beginning bell in Jun Haoyin's hands. The current Langya Sacred Ground did not need to be as constrained by offensive power as it was in the past. The supreme foundation of the two supreme artifacts was enough to make up for any shortcomings. Hearing Tao Xian's words, Jun Haoyin nodded slowly. Now, the most important thing was to summon all the Langya disciples who were outside. After the arrival of this great calamity, except for the sacred land, everywhere else was full of danger. However, Jun Haoyan knew in his heart that even if the sacred land had the two supreme artifacts to suppress it, it would only be able to defend for a while. Now, the supreme mark and the world barrier were slowly disappearing. No one knew what kind of terrifying existence would descend when these things that protected the martial god continent completely disappeared. Under such circumstances, the best way is to ensure our own strength. In addition, I also received news that Mount Tai will open in 7 days. At that time, cultivators will be able to enter. At that time, I'm afraid that people from other continents will not let go of this opportunity. During this time, we don't do anything but sit quietly and watch the outside world. Jun Haoyan continued and slowly told the news he heard from Emperor Xia. Hearing this, Tao Xian nodded, somewhat understanding. In fact, the changes in the martial god continent were something that even a supreme being could not stop. Now, all they could do was wait quietly for the calamity to descend. I understand what you said. Also, when you and Emperor Xia explore Mount Tai, you must be extremely careful. Looking at the calm Jun Haoyan, Tao Xian reminded him worriedly. At that time, their opponents would be the geniuses from other continents. Among them, there might even be terrifying existences of the immortal stage 5. Therefore, no matter what, they had to be extra careful this time. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. In the outside world, in the martial god continent, the supreme mark and the world barrier were rapidly weakening. Once this news was released, it spread throughout the entire martial god continent in just 1 day. It had reached a stage where everyone knew about it. After hearing this news, countless forces trembled in fear, afraid that this calamity would affect them. At the same time, several top forces in Eastern Wilderness, Central Plains, Southern Border, and other regions made a temporary agreement. During this period, no matter what grudges they had to put aside first. The most important thing now was to face the invaders from other continents. Now, it seemed that in the face of this calamity, all the forces in the martial god continent were very united. This point was not bad at all. At this moment, the Vermilion Bird Dynasty publicly announced that Mount Tai would open in a few days. Moreover, the Vermilion Bird Dynasty invited all the forces in the martial god continent to enter Mount Tai with them to search for opportunities. When this news was released, the entire continent was in an uproar. Of course, this news was intentionally leaked by Emperor Xia, so many major forces already knew about it. They also knew that the changes in Mount Tai were related to this impending calamity. There must be something magical about it. In the face of such an opportunity, even the Vermilion Bird Dynasty could not monopolize it. Therefore, choosing to let all the forces enter together was the best choice. On the second day after the Langya Grand Banquet ended, the void of the martial god continent also changed. In the past, the stars that were billions of miles away from the ground would only shine with boundless light. But now, the stars that were originally invisible to the naked eye were actually descending at this moment. They were incomparably huge and surrounded the entire martial god continent. After some observation, the various forces came to a conclusion. This was not because the sun, moon, and stars had become bigger, but because they were closer to the martial god continent. Just like this, the news that the apocalypse was about to descend on the martial god continent spread more and more widely. Some people even said that this was the punishment that the gods of the god realm were about to send down and destroy the entire martial god continent. In short, the entire martial god continent was now in a state of panic. Then, on the third day after the Langya Grand Banquet ended, above the martial god continent, waves of extremely terrifying storms suddenly erupted and swept through the entire world. Some of the experts could see that there were shadows floating within the storm. Among them, the aura emitted from each shadow was extremely terrifying as they stood above the void. At this moment, the entire martial god continent's sky seemed to be about to shatter. In the storm, more and more shadows appeared. Everyone knew that those shadows were the experts from other worlds who were about to descend on the martial god continent. At this moment, the entire martial god continent had completely changed and countless people were in a state of panic. At this moment, the native forces of the martial god continent began to welcome the experts from other continents. As for the top forces like the Gu dynasty and the human sacred grounds, they chose to watch coldly from the sidelines. As for these experts from other continents, they did not take the initiative to attack them. This was because they knew very well that this group of people was just a group of pathfinders. Behind them there would probably be an endless stream of experts descending. At that time, the truly terrifying existence would descend. And this was also what the sacred grounds and the Gu dynasty were truly afraid of. On the fourth day after the Langya Grand Banquet ended, a shocking piece of news spread from Middle-earth. The new crown prince of the Azure Dragon dynasty had been defeated by a young genius from the Moke continent in one move. Once this news spread, the entire martial god continent was shocked. The new crown prince of the Azure Dragon dynasty was definitely ranked in the top 10 among the martial god continent's geniuses. After the previous crown prince had died at the hands of Jun Haotian, this new crown prince had ascended to the position of crown prince with his powerful strength. His reputation was extremely famous in Middle-earth. His strength was enough to be ranked in the top 5 among the Middle-earth's young geniuses. Although he was not as monstrous as Emperor Xia, he could definitely be considered a top-notch genius. But now, he had actually been defeated by a genius from the Moke continent in one move. Moreover, both of them were in the Dharma phase realm. Defeated by someone of the same cultivation level in one move. Once this news spread, all the martial god continent's geniuses were shocked and began discussing this matter. But what they did not expect was that this time, it was merely the opening. According to the statistics, a total of 100 geniuses had descended on the martial god continent this time. They were from the fantasy spirit continent, the immortal cultivation continent, the immeasurable continent, and the Moke continent. And almost all of these continents were ranked in the top 10 among the 3,000 worlds. No matter how one looked at it, their worlds were stronger than the martial god continents. Next, the crown prince of the Azure Dragon dynasty was defeated. Then, the Black Tortoise dynasty's King Wuxia and the White Tiger dynasty's King Shenwu were both defeated on the same day. And the Vermilion Bird dynasty's eldest prince, a peerless genius second only to Emperor Xia in Middle-earth, was also defeated by a genius from the immeasurable continent. At the same time, many geniuses in southern border were also defeated by geniuses from other continents. Of course, the situation in Eastern Wilderness was not any better. The new Holy Sun of the All-Heaven Sacred Ground, Azure Cloud Sacred Ground, and Wavering Light Sacred Ground were all defeated. In addition, many of the strongest disciples of the major sects were also defeated. Just like that, the rumor that the geniuses from other continents easily defeated the martial god continent's geniuses began to spread. Faced with the crushing defeat of the martial god continent's geniuses, the other geniuses who had descended on the martial god continent also began to clamor. They claimed that the martial god continent had completely declined and that no one had the strength to fight. Especially the younger generation, they were even more powerless to fight back. Hearing these declarations, some of the martial god continent's geniuses were immediately dissatisfied. "Humph, you dare to speak so arrogantly after defeating us? Our martial god continent's top geniuses, Emperor Xia, Kunlun's Holy Sun, and Vast Heaven's Holy Sun, haven't even made a move yet." That's right, these are the strongest geniuses of our martial god continent. They represent the strongest strength of the younger generation. Chapter 220. If you have the ability, go challenge these peerless prodigies. They are the true top prodigies of Wuxia continent. Seeing the prodigies from other continents crushing the local prodigies, some people could not take it anymore and exposed Jun Haotian and the others. After that, everyone who was humiliated by the prodigies from other continents retaliated in the same way. They mocked the prodigies from other continents for only picking on the weak. Top prodigies? They're just undeserving of their reputation. Other than the Kunlun sacred ground, the Holy Sun and Emperor Xia are just ants. The prodigy from the Boundless continent who had defeated the Vermilion Bird dynasty's crown prince immediately spoke up in response to the ridicule of the Wuxia continent's losers. That's right. The current Wuxia continent is no longer the Wuxia continent that was just born. The prodigy from the Moke continent also chimed in. Just like that, when the prodigies from other continents had just arrived, there was a huge conflict between the two sides. However, the Holy Sun, Emperor Xia, and the others simply ignored such provocative words. At the same time, these prodigies from other continents announced that they would participate in the opening of Mount Tai in a few days and enter together to search for opportunities. Once this news was out, many factions on Wuxia continent immediately objected. They all agreed that Mount Tai belonged to Wuxia continent and only the prodigies of Wuxia continent. People from other continents were not allowed to touch it. Another day passed in the midst of this debate. On that day, the Vermilion Bird dynasty announced that the fated ones would obtain the opportunity. Regardless of which world the prodigies were from, anyone who wanted to enter Mount Tai could enter. Many factions on Wuxia continent were dumbfounded when they heard this news. They all thought to themselves, what's wrong with the Vermilion Bird dynasty? Only a few top factions knew that those who had come to Wuxia continent were merely explorers. Behind them, there were even more powerful prodigies who had yet to arrive. Those factions that were far more powerful than dynasties and sacred grounds were currently outside Wuxian continent, eyeing it covetously. When the supreme mark and world barrier weakened again, it would be time for them to enter Wuxian continent. After understanding this, the top factions also understood that a trip to Mount Tai would not change anything. Therefore, it was not worth falling out with these people over Mount Tai. Of course, while compromising, the various great forces were secretly accumulating strength to deal with the great calamity. After the Vermilion Bird dynasty agreed, all the prodigies from the outside world immediately gathered in the direction of the Heartlands. Before they came, their elders had warned them repeatedly that they had to pay attention to the changes that had occurred in the martial god continent during this period of time. It was extremely likely that it contained a supreme opportunity, and obtaining it would allow one to ascend to the heavens in a single bound. Therefore, the exploration of Mount Tai was extremely important to them. During this period of time, the geniuses of the other realms had been facing the geniuses of the martial god continent with a lofty attitude. At the same time, the geniuses of the Moke world and the boundless world also issued a declaration. He said that he wanted to challenge the strongest genius of the martial god continent. They planned to use the final result to prove that the Wuxian continent had completely declined. The top 10 continents of ancient times were no longer as glorious as they used to be. These arrogant words made the martial god continent's geniuses feel somewhat powerless. Although they were furious, they had to admit that these geniuses from other continents were much stronger than them. At this moment, they were all looking forward to Jun Haoyin and the other strongest geniuses coming out to fight with them and reclaim some of their dignity. However, the counterattack they were looking forward to never came. Then, something that shocked everyone happened. After Kunlun's holy son Ji Wushuang came out of seclusion, he actually announced in public, "Welcome to the martial god continent." Upon hearing this, many of the martial god continent's geniuses were stunned. They had never imagined that the so-called number one genius of the eastern wilderness, Kunlun's holy son, would actually support the geniuses of the other realms in such a high-profile manner. This scene not only made the martial god continent's geniuses fall silent. If even the strongest genius of the martial god continent did not dare to fight with the geniuses of the other realms, wouldn't that be indirectly admitting that the martial god continent was inferior to the other continents? Although they were very dissatisfied with Kunlun's holy son's actions, the martial god continent had always been the ruler of the martial god continent. However, the Kunlun Holy Land had always been arrogant and lawless. They did not care about what others thought. In response to Kunlun's holy son's words, the geniuses of the other realms also began to respond. They claimed that only Kunlun's holy son was the true genius of the martial god continent. The others, such as Haoyin's holy son and Emperor Xia, were not even worth mentioning. At this moment, everyone's eyes were on Haoyin's holy son and Emperor Xia. However, to everyone's disappointment, Haoyin's holy son and Emperor Xia, who had always been known for being overbearing, did not make any moves. They did not retaliate at all. Everyone wondered if these two geniuses, like Kunlun's holy son, did not want to offend the geniuses of the other continents. Just like that, the days passed. Finally, it was the day before Mount Tai opened. Everyone waited in vain, and the martial god continent's geniuses were extremely disappointed. A piece of incomparably exhilarating news came out. Haoyin's holy son of the Langyas sacred ground had already walked out of the sacred ground and was heading towards Middle-earth. For a moment, everyone began to get excited. They were all looking forward to the arrival of this unprecedented battle. Although Jun Haoyin had kept a low profile when he left the Langyas sacred ground, countless people's eyes were focused on him at this moment. After all, in all these years, Haoyin's holy son was the most outstanding genius. Whether it was Kunlun's holy son, Ji Wushuang, or the Vermilion Bird dynasty's crown prince, Emperor Xia, they were all peerless geniuses who had long been famous. And Haoyin's holy son was a rising star. In terms of who received the most attention, it was undoubtedly Haoyin's holy son. Other than him, there was no one else. Therefore, after hearing that Haoyin's holy son had left the Langyas sacred ground and was heading towards Middle-earth, countless people began to look forward to it. In everyone's opinion, although Haoyin's holy son was going to participate in the exploration of Mount Tai, the battle with the geniuses of the other continents was unavoidable. That was because those geniuses from the other continents had long been waiting to defeat Haoyin's holy son to establish their dominance. Haoyin's holy son's battle immediately attracted the attention of countless people. Countless martial artists rushed towards Middle-earth when they heard the news. At this moment, Mount Tai in Middle Earth's Vermilion Bird Dynasty's territory had undoubtedly become the most lively place in Wuxian continent. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless fantasy translation. Above the ethereal void, endless layers of clouds lingered. From time to time, there would be flashes of golden light shooting out from the thick layers of clouds, dazzling everyone's eyes. A vast aura descended from the clouds, emanating a terrifying aura. High up in the sky, within the layers of clouds, 10 dragon-blooded heavenly horses were rapidly moving through the void. Every dragon-blooded heavenly horse exuded a terrifying bloodline power. It was extremely terrifying. If this scene was seen by others, they would definitely be horrified. That was because these 10 dragon-blooded heavenly horses exuded an extremely terrifying aura. Each dragon-blooded horse was at least Yuan Dan realm. If they were in the Holy Lands, they would be considered true disciples. But now, these 10 Yuan Dan dragon-blooded heavenly horses were gathered together just to pull a golden jade carriage. Inside this golden jade carriage was naturally Jun Haotian. Holy Sun, now everyone in Wuxian continent is looking forward to your battle with the other world's prodigies. In the golden jade carriage, Feng Xiaoyao, Dugu Bo, Bailey Xuanzi, and the others looked at Jun Haotian with incomparable respect. This golden jade carriage was a treasure. The interior space was very large and there was no problem for it to accommodate hundreds of people. This level of treasure was related to the laws of space. Only an undying world king could refine such a treasure. The challenges of the other continents' prodigies against Wuxian continent's native prodigies had caused a huge conflict. Now, a large number of prodigies from Middle Earth and Eastern Wilderness had been defeated, and the other continents' prodigies were constantly mocking them. Under the current situation, the Wuxian continent's people appeared to be rather dispirited. Everyone's hearts were filled with anticipation. They hoped that someone could bring about a victory to motivate them. Kunlun's Holy Sun's actions of showing goodwill to the other continent's prodigies had already caused many people in Wuxian continent to be dissatisfied. They had also lost hope in Kunlun's Holy Sun. At this moment, they could only place their hopes on Hao Tian's Holy Sun and Emperor Xia. As for Western Desert and Southern Border, they did not take them into consideration. Western Desert had never interfered in the affairs of the outside world, and they would not participate in such matters. Southern Border's number 1 prodigy, Prince Jiao, had already been killed by Hao Tian's Holy Sun. There was no other prodigy to fight. Moreover, even if Prince Jiao was still alive, he would not fight. At the end of the day, Prince Jiao could only be considered a prodigy of Divine Monster Continent. He had nothing to do with Wuxian continent. Under such circumstances, Hao Tian's Holy Sun, who had unparalleled strength, instantly became everyone's hope. At this moment, Jun Haotian heard Feng Xiaoyao and the others' words and laughed softly, not caring at all. Don't worry. This time I will definitely fight with them. Hearing that, Feng Xiaoyao and the others were instantly excited. Although they were disciples of the Langya Sacred Ground, and everything they did was for the benefit of the Langya Sacred Ground. However, they were also members of Wuxian continent. Now that the prodigies of other continents were insulting Wuxian continent, they naturally felt unhappy. If Hao Tian's Holy Sun could defeat those prodigies, they would naturally feel proud and elated. In Jun Haotian's mind, he already had a plan for this battle. Unlike Feng Xiaoyao and the others with Jun Haotian's current status, he naturally knew some things that ordinary people did not know. Kunlun's Holy Sun had expressed goodwill to the prodigies of other continents because there was an inside story. Kunlun's Holy Sun, who was known as the number 1 prodigy of the human race, had actually reached an agreement with those foreign powerhouses. As for the contents of the agreement, Jun Haotian naturally did not know. He did not care to know either. However, at this moment they had pointed the spearhead at him. Their motive was obvious. Since they had made the first move, they could not blame him. Taking a beating without retaliating was not Jun Haotian's usual style. Moreover, these so-called foreign prodigies had been acting like tyrants in Wuxian continent during this period, which made him very unhappy. With his current strength, he was very confident that he was invincible among the younger generation of Wuxian continent. This would indeed lose some of the fun. However, now that the prodigies of other continents had arrived, it was a good opportunity for Jun Haotian to test his own strength. Therefore, Jun Haotian had no reason to reject the other party's provocation. Holy Sun, we should only be 4 hours away from Mount Tai. Rumor has it that Mount Tai will be completely open tonight. At this moment, martial artists are allowed to enter within a radius of 10,000 meters of Mount Tai. Feng Xiaoyao sat next to Jun Haotian and kept recounting what had happened during this period. As the Holy Sun of Langya, Jun Haoyin did not need to personally inquire about such trivial matters. Naturally, someone else would tell him. After hearing Feng Xiaoyao's words, Jun Haoyin nodded slowly. Since Mount Tai allowed martial artists to enter within a radius of 10,000 meters, it meant that the day of Mount Tai's opening was not far away. After a while, Jun Haoyin did not continue chatting with Feng Xiaoyao. Instead, he immersed his divine spirit in his mind. Then he activated the Skyheart Frost technique. Currently, he had cultivated the Skyheart Frost technique to more than 50 lotus marks. His progress had greatly increased. This was all thanks to the 7 treasures Bodhi tree in Jun Haoyin's body. Otherwise, Jun Haoyin would not have been able to cultivate this supreme technique to such a level. This required continuous comprehension and comprehension. More importantly, it required a strong aptitude. In this aspect he did not think he was weak, but he was not strong either. However, the 7 treasures Bodhi tree as the first spiritual root made up for his shortcomings. Not only did it greatly increase his comprehension, but it also greatly increased his talent. The Bodhi tree was known as the first spiritual root in the Wuxian continent. It was also known as the Tree of Wisdom. It possessed an incomparably powerful force and was incomparably profound. However, even with the help of the 7 treasures Bodhi tree, Jun Haoyin still needed a lot of time to cultivate the Skyheart Frost technique to the extreme. During this period, Jun Haoyin had been cultivating this supreme technique. He was very curious about how terrifying the power of this supreme technique from the goddess of 4 stars would be once it was cultivated to the extreme. Of course, this was a matter for the future. Cultivation also needed to be done step by step. There was no need to rush. Boom. At this moment, the entire golden jade chariot suddenly trembled. Jun Haoyin opened his eyes in an instant. Holy Sun, we've arrived at the boundary of Mount Tai. However, there's a guy in front of us blocking our way. At the same time, Feng Xiaoyao's angry voice was heard as he explained the situation to them. Jun Haoyin's eyes flashed with a golden light. Suddenly, he saw a man in black armor standing in the void not far away, blocking his way forward. There was an extremely terrifying true essence surging around the man. It was extremely violent and it scattered the surrounding clouds. Not far behind him was the famous Mount Tai. At this moment, countless warriors were gathered there. Look, isn't that the Holy Sun's golden jade chariot? Someone actually dares to block his way? I'm afraid you don't know. That man in black armor is a top heaven's pride from Moke continent. Chapter 221. What? That man in black armor is the one who defeated the crown prince of the Azure Dragon Empire in one move? The scene in the sky was witnessed by countless people below. Was the Holy Sun of Great Heaven finally going to clash with the prodigy of the Moke continent? At that moment, the sky was filled with battles, and the thick clouds had already disappeared. The man in black armor standing in front of Jun Haoyin was more than 10 feet tall. Around him, a vast amount of true origin energy swept out. The man's eyes were wide open, like a bottomless abyss. If others looked into his eyes, they would feel as if they were about to fall into hell, and their hearts would palpitate. At that moment, the man held a long black saber in his hand and stared at Jun Haoyin's golden jade carriage with a fierce expression. The aura on his body was extremely strong. At that moment, the man in black armor had yet to display his cosmic form. Just his own strength alone was enough to make the prodigies cower in fear. A person stood in the sky. The man in black armor stared at the golden jade carriage in front of him and said coldly, "Holy Son of Great Heaven, do you dare to fight with me?" At that moment, the Moke continent's prodigy, Mo Yun, spoke in Jun Haoyin's direction. His expression was incomparably arrogant, as if he was a high and mighty god looking down at the ants on the ground. He stared at the golden jade carriage indifferently, and his attitude was domineering and overbearing. In particular, the black armor he was wearing was emitting a chilling aura. It was clearly a treasure. He just stood there, and the aura he emitted made the 10 dragon blood heavenly horses tremble, not daring to move at all. At the foot of Mount Tai, everyone was watching the confrontation in the void with different expressions. This was a battle between the prodigies of 2 continents. One came from the Moke continent and defeated the crown prince of the Azure Dragon Empire in one move. The Holy Sun of Great Heaven even attacked the human sacred land, and people gave him the nickname of the Holy Sun Harvester. According to the martial artists of the Wuxian continent, there were no less than 6 Holy Sun of the sacred land, crown prince of the empire, and demon prince who died in his hands. With such a battle record, he could be said to be a true peerless genius, especially during the battle with the 5 superpowers in front of the Langya sacred ground. With the unparalleled supreme weapon, he had killed 3 sacred lords and 2 demon kings. Such battle prowess and battle record were even more terrifying than Bai Ming Han, the #1 genius from 50,000 years ago. The name of the holy son of Haotian could last for at least tens of thousands of years. Of course, everyone knew that the holy son of Haotian could only be so powerful because of his supreme weapon and other external objects. In any case, the strength of the holy son of Haotian was undeniable. At this moment, at the foot of Mount Tai, everyone looked at the scene in the sky and started discussing. I heard that the prodigy of the Moke continent Mo Yun is already at the peak of the Transcendence realm. He has even cultivated many terrifying supreme divine abilities. His strength is incomparably terrifying. That's right. I wonder if the holy son of Haotian will accept the challenge. After all, the 2 of them are in the same realm. The holy son of Haotian will definitely accept the challenge. Since his debut, the holy son of Haotian has always been known for his domineering and powerful strength. This guy is so arrogant. The holy son of Haotian will definitely kill him. That's not necessarily true. The Moke continent is ranked in the top 100 of the 3,000 worlds. The prodigies from there are naturally extremely powerful. In my opinion, they might not be weaker than the holy son of Haotian. The martial artists at the foot of Mount Tai spoke one after another, expressing their opinions. The holy son of Haotian was powerful, but naturally they knew how powerful Mo Yun was. After all, he had defeated the crown prince of the Azure Dragon Empire in one move. Now Mo Yun was targeting the holy son of Haotian. In their opinion, it was not certain whether the holy son of Haotian would accept the challenge. After all, Mo Yun was not a prodigy from the Wuxian continent. His strength was unpredictable. Even so, most people still thought that the holy son of Haotian would accept the challenge. Moreover, he would defeat this so-called prodigy from the Moke continent in one move. At this moment, the holy son of Haotian had completely become their hope. During this period of time, they had been bullied by the prodigies from other continents. They could not hold their heads up high. Therefore, they urgently needed a prodigy from the Wuxian continent to win, and a prodigy from other worlds to pull themselves together after suffering a crushing defeat. At this moment, everyone at the foot of Mount Tai was looking at the golden jade chariot in the void. They wanted to see how the holy son of Haotian would deal with Mo Yun. What? The #1 prodigy in the eastern wilderness dares not accept my challenge? Mo Yun narrowed his eyes and said coldly when he saw that there was no response from the golden jade chariot. As he spoke, he held the long black saber in his hand and pointed it at the golden jade chariot. A fierce and vast murderous intent swept toward the golden jade chariot as if it was going to tear the void apart. I thought the so-called #1 prodigy in the eastern wilderness was extraordinary. It turns out that you're just a coward who doesn't even dare to accept my challenge. Mo Yun said again as he looked at the golden jade chariot. His tone was filled with disdain. Endless cold light surged in the direction his saber was pointing at. At the same time, a dozen people were standing in the void on the other side of the void. The strange thing was that their auras were incompatible with those of the Wuxian continent. Among them, a man in a green robe narrowed his eyes as he watched Mo Yun block the golden jade chariot. Although the green-robed man's aura was not very strong, he seemed to be the leader of the group. There were only a few people who could stand shoulder to shoulder with him, and they were the strongest among them. These people were obviously prodigies from other worlds. At this moment they were crossing their arms and looking at the scene in the sky above Mount Tai mockingly. A few minutes later, in the face of Mo Yun's provocation, there was still no response from the golden jade chariot. The cultivators of the Wuxian continent shook their heads when they saw this scene. Judging from the situation, the Holy Sun probably didn't dare to accept the challenge. He didn't want to offend these prodigies from other worlds. How many people on the Wuxian continent could fight them now? Just as everyone was feeling extremely disappointed, a trace of aura finally leaked out from the golden jade chariot. This aura revealed a trace of coldness. Then Feng Xiaoyao, Dugubo, and Bailey Xuanzi slowly walked out of the golden jade chariot. The three of them looked at Mo Yun with cold gazes. When Mo Yun saw the three of them come down, he immediately said with disdain, "Ha, is this your attitude, Holy Sun? You sent a few ants to face me. Are you going to be a coward?" Although Feng Xiaoyao and the others had broken through to the Imperial Dao realm, they were clearly unable to withstand a single blow from Mo Yun. As a peak Transcendence realm expert, Mo Yun could kill the three of them with a casual strike. Feng Xiaoyao and the others frowned slightly when they heard Mo Yun's arrogant words, but they didn't show any anger. Instead they slowly walked over to him. "My holy son asked me to give you the first thing he wants to say. Before Feng Xiaoyao could finish his sentence, everyone's eyes were on him. They were very curious about what the Holy Sun wanted to say to Mo Yun. Haha, what are you talking about? There's no need to beg for mercy. I'll definitely fight him today. Mo Yun smiled disdainfully and looked at Feng Xiaoyao with interest. After that, Dugubo walked out from behind Feng Xiaoyao and said sternly, My Holy Sun has ordered that if you don't fuck off in 3 breaths of time, I'll take your life. Dugubo's words revealed boundless domineering strength. Hearing his words, everyone present was shocked. As expected of the Holy Son of Haotian. Even when facing geniuses from other continents, his attitude was still so domineering. Then he sent his subordinates to order Mo Yun to scram. This action was unintentionally looking down on this genius from the Moke world. He wasn't even interested in talking to him. Seeing this scene, the geniuses from the martial god continent couldn't help but gasp. As expected of the Holy Son of Haotian, the Holy Son of Haotian. He was still so domineering and unreasonable. What did you say? I think you're courting death. After hearing Dugubo's words, Mo Yun's face couldn't help but darken. In the next moment he directly waved the long saber in his hand. Vast power shook out, and an incomparably powerful saber chi erupted. It was terrifying beyond compare. At this moment, Mo Yun seemed to be enraged. His violent aura set off waves of origin energy. At this moment he was like a demon god descending to the world. He wanted to kill Feng Xiaoyao and the other two. Seeing this, Feng Xiaoyao and the other two's expressions changed. Facing Mo Yun's saber, they couldn't resist at all. At this critical moment, a palm stretched out from the golden jade chariot. This palm was crystal clear and carried endless divine light. It was incomparably dazzling. On the palm, every pore was emitting divine light. It was as if it was made of extremely pure glass, perfect and flawless. However, the infinite power on the palm was even more shocking. Just as Mo Yun attacked Feng Xiaoyao, this palm collided with the black saber light. Boom. At this moment, an incomparably terrifying rumble sounded in the void. The origin energy between heaven and earth also began to riot. The entire void was rumbling, as if a lightning tribulation had swept across the entire martial god continent. It was deafening, and the mountains and rivers were trembling and collapsing. In the next moment, Mo Yun, who was originally unparalleled, suddenly retreated. His aura was somewhat weak. At this moment, Mo Yun looked at the golden jade chariot in surprise. He had felt an oppressive force from the attack just now. This force was enough to crush him. If that palm had hit him, even the black shadow demonic armor on his body wouldn't have been able to protect him. It might even have been destroyed. After a while, the chaotic aura in the void finally calmed down. Mo Yun looked at the golden jade chariot in the void and narrowed his eyes. At this moment, his expression was no longer as arrogant as before. This holy son of great heaven seemed to be really strong. However, this alone wasn't enough to make him afraid. Just now, he hadn't displayed his strongest strength. The exchange of blows just now was merely a brief exchange of blows. At this moment, Mo Yun thought that he and the Holy Son of Great Heaven's strength were about the same. There shouldn't be a winner in a short period of time. Thinking of this, Mo Yun immediately took another step forward. At the same time, a vast power swept out. The black armor was like a living creature, making a series of rumbling sounds as if a demon god was whispering. Holy Son of Great Heaven, come out and fight. Mo Yun once again displayed his domineering side, completely exposing the aura of the Transcendence realm. The violent power suddenly swept out in all directions, causing countless people to turn pale. At this moment, in another void, the peerless geniuses from other continents looked at the golden jade chariot and fell into deep thought. Although the two of them had only exchanged a short confrontation, they felt the power of the Holy Son of Great Heaven's strength. Even for geniuses of their level, he was considered a very strong existence. Therefore, they looked at the golden jade chariot with a serious expression, no longer as arrogant as before. At this moment, the warriors of martial god continent were extremely excited. The Holy Son of Great Heaven was indeed the #1 genius of Eastern Wilderness. With just one blow he had forced Mo Yun to retreat. His strength was truly terrifying. However, some people frowned. They naturally felt it. The confrontation just now was merely a probing exchange. Both of them hadn't displayed their true strength. The real battle had yet to begin. The Holy Son of Great Heaven had won a temporary victory, but it was nothing. It was still unknown who would emerge victorious in the end. Of course, in their hearts, they naturally hoped that the Holy Son of Great Heaven would win this battle. The commotion outside did not affect the golden jade chariot at all. At this moment, the golden jade chariot that had been floating in the void remained unchanged. Feng Xiaoyao and the others stood quietly outside the golden jade chariot. Move aside. With your strength, you're not worthy of my attack. At this moment, Jun Haoyin, who was in the golden jade chariot, finally spoke. As soon as he spoke, his words were shocking. Jun Haoyin was extremely domineering. He directly said that Mo Yun was not worthy of fighting with him. For a moment, countless people were stunned and in disbelief. Even the people of Martial God Continent felt that the Holy Son of Great Heaven was a little arrogant. Those words showed that he did not take Mo Yun, the genius of Moke Continent, seriously at all. One had to know that the Crown Prince of the Azure Dragon Empire back then could not withstand a single move from this person. However, the Holy Son of Great Heaven did not even show his face, looking down on Mo Yun. However, Jun Haoyin's unparalleled attitude made the martial artists of Martial God Continent excited. Weren't you arrogant, Mo Yun? Weren't you arrogant? Now, our Holy Son of Great Heaven is even more arrogant and domineering than you. Arrogant, I'll kill you today, you arrogant person. When Mo Yun heard Jun Haoyin's words, he did not fly into a rage. After all, as a genius of Moke Continent, his temperament was still considered calm. However, it did not mean that Mo Yun was not angry in his heart. In the next moment, Mo Yun directly made his move. In an instant, a berserk aura swept out, and the endless true essence began to riot, setting off a wave of origin chi. Then a vast heaven and earth Dharma idol appeared, standing between heaven and earth. It was thousands of feet tall. This was Mo Yun's Dharma idol. Summoning the Dharma idol meant that Mo Yun was really angry. At this moment, the black saber in his hand was already thousands of feet long. Just like that, Mo Yun, who was like a mountain, directly attacked Jun Haoyin. He directly waved the saber in his hand at the golden jade chariot. Boom. In an instant, the surrounding mountains and rivers shattered, and the earth shook as if an apocalypse was about to arrive. Chapter 222. If Mount Tai was the result of the heaven and earth metamorphosis, it would affect the surrounding hundreds of thousands of miles. When Mo Yun revealed his cosmic form, the mountains and rivers within 1,000 miles would be destroyed in an instant. In everyone's eyes, Mo Yun was holding a long black saber and slashing at Jun Haoyin's golden jade chariot. Rumble. Heaven and earth began to shake. The terrifying saber radiance of 1,000 feet long slashed at the golden jade chariot. Feng Xiaoyao and the others turned pale when they felt the terrifying power of the saber. They felt a chill in their hearts. They could not withstand the power of the saber. If the saber slashed down, they would be killed instantly. They would have no chance of survival. However, just as the saber radiance was about to slash down, a purple-robed figure suddenly appeared on the golden jade chariot. The purple-robed figure, with his black hair fluttering in the wind, had his hands behind his back. He looked at the terrifying saber radiance calmly. That person was none other than the Holy Son of Great Heaven, Jun Haoyin. In the next moment, all kinds of colorful divine lights burst out from Jun Haoyin's body. It was abstruse and mysterious. Just as the saber radiance was about to land on Jun Haoyin's head, Jun Haoyin slowly raised his hand. Boom. In an instant, the two collided and a terrifying airflow erupted. The aftershock blasted out in all directions and flattened the surrounding mountains and rivers. At this moment, everyone under Mount Tai focused their attention on Jun Haoyin. At this moment, Jun Haoyin's body moved and he only used one hand. However, this simple hand was able to block the 1,000-foot-long saber light. Mo Yun's ultimate move was easily blocked by the Holy Son of Great Heaven. Countless people could not help but exclaim in disbelief at this scene. The Holy Son of Great Heaven was too powerful. He had defeated Mo Yun with just one hand and his body had not moved at all. As for Mo Yun, he was even more astonished. He looked at Jun Haoyin in disbelief. He did not expect the Holy Son of Haoyin to be so powerful. Killer God single slash. However, Mo Yun was a genius after all, so it was naturally impossible for him to admit defeat directly. Furthermore, he hadn't even displayed his full strength yet. In the next moment, Mo Yun brandished the saber in his hand again. At the same time, the armor on his body also emitted a black light. The black light was dazzling as if it wanted to cut through everything in the world. At this moment, the entire world darkened. Between heaven and earth, only the terrifying long saber in Mo Yun's hand could be seen. Then he slashed in Jun Haoyin's direction with his saber again. His killing intent was boundless. Feeling the power of this blade, countless people exclaimed. The power of this blade was enough to kill an ordinary immortal longevity realm expert. No matter how powerful the Holy Son of Haotian was, it would not be easy for him to deal with this attack. However, to everyone's surprise in the next moment, an extremely dreamy scene appeared in front of everyone's eyes. In the void, a 1,000-foot-long saber light with a brilliant divine power cut through the space and directly slashed on Jun Haotian's body. However, a strange scene happened. The terrifying saber light directly disappeared when it passed through Jun Haotian's body. It was as if the saber light had never appeared. In the next moment, Jun Haotian slowly took a step forward with his hands behind his back as if nothing had happened. In everyone's eyes, the Holy Son of Haotian's speed was obviously very slow, but in the blink of an eye he directly arrived in front of Mo Yun. Then Jun Haotian did not have the slightest bit of fancy and directly slapped on Mo Yun's enormous cosmic form. At this moment the sky changed color, the wind and clouds suddenly rose, and the surrounding chi of heaven and earth directly collapsed. At this moment, Mo Yun's body trembled, and the black armor on his body directly exploded. Crack, crack, crack. Terrifying cracks quickly appeared on the black armor. It was as if an exquisite piece of porcelain was being shattered. In the void, an incomparably powerful force completely erupted at this moment. Countless divine lights flashed, and it was incomparably dazzling. Under this palm, Mo Yun's body kept retreating, and the aura on his body became very weak, and his face was extremely pale. Mo Yun still could not believe the scene in front of him. As a peerless genius of the Moke continent, he was defeated by the Holy Son of Haotian just like that? Boom. When the remaining force of Jun Haotian's palm dissipated, Moke's body finally stabilized. At this moment, his eyes were full of horror as he looked at Jun Haotian, and his body was constantly trembling. As for the black armor on his body, night had already directly shattered, falling off from his body. This treasure had been directly destroyed by Jun Haotian's palm and could no longer be repaired. At this moment, it was not only Mo Yun himself who could not believe it. Everyone watching this battle around Mount Tai was in disbelief when they saw the scene just now. They never thought that this peerless genius from the Moke continent would be defeated by the Holy Son of Haotian in one move. Although Mo Yun was not seriously injured, everyone knew that Mo Yun was defeated. Just now, the Holy Son of Haotian had not used his full strength at all and had easily defeated Mo Yun. If he had used his full strength, Mo Yun would probably have died at this moment. One had to know that Mo Yun's methods just now had no effect on Jun Haotian at all. At this moment, on the other side of the void, the geniuses from other continents were also extremely shocked. The strength that the Holy Son of Lengya Holy Ground Haotian of Haotian had just displayed was really terrifying. One had to know that among these geniuses, most of them were not Mo Yun's match. Now, Mo Yun had been defeated by the Holy Son of Haotian, not to mention those who were weaker than him. I really didn't expect that there would be such a person in the Wuxian continent. That's right. I originally thought that the Wuxian continent had completely declined, but I didn't expect that there would be such an extraordinary genius. Although his cultivation is only at the peak of the Transcendence realm, the combat strength that he displayed was extremely terrifying. With his current combat strength, even in our continent, he would be a top-notch existence. At this moment, the geniuses from other continents spoke one after another. In short, they were very surprised by Jun Haotian's strength. In particular, when Mo Yun had used the terrifying superpower with the black saber, he had not been injured at all, which shocked them even more. At least, no one present could have dodged it so easily. Even the green-robed man in the center of the crowd narrowed his eyes at this moment. He looked at Jun Haotian's figure and his eyes became more and more curious. He came from the immortal continent and his strength was extremely terrifying. Although he was also at the peak of the Transcendence realm, he could easily defeat Mo Yun. Now Jun Haotian's combat strength had been displayed. He asked himself if he would need to use all his strength against this so-called Holy Son of Vast Heaven. Qing Fengzi, what do you think of this Holy Son of Vast Heaven? Just as the green-robed man was deep in thought, another man beside him spoke. This man was dressed in yellow, and there was also a terrifying true essence swirling around his body. He looked unparalleled. The aura that this man emitted was actually much stronger than Qing Fengzi of the immortal continent. This yellow-robed man was a peerless genius from the boundless continent, Wuxian. On the boundless continent, cultivators had always paid attention to increasing their true essence. This was because on the boundless continent, the heaven and earth essence chi was extremely dense. At the same level, the true essence contained in the bodies of the boundless continent's warriors was several times that of the geniuses of other continents. Wuxia was even more outstanding among them. It was said that his true essence could be said to have a long history, and even Qing Fengzi did not dare to offend him. This holy son of vast heaven's strength is indeed not bad and is qualified to fight with us, but this is nothing. At this moment, the only woman in the crowd spoke slowly. The strange thing was that this woman's figure had always been hidden in the illusion. It looked like she was standing there, but in reality she was unpredictable and could not be found at all. Her entire person felt hazy and dreamy. This man was a peerless genius from the fantasy spirit continent, and his strength was unfathomable. Moreover, this woman came from the fantasy spirit continent's #1 faction, the fantasy spirit sect, and was the strongest existence on the fantasy spirit continent. The fantasy spirit sect was much stronger than the 7 great holy lands of the human race on the Wuxian continent. This woman's name was Bai Libing. In the fantasy spirit sect, her strength was second only to the strongest inheritor. Hearing this, Qing Fengzi and the other 2 nodded in agreement. However, the strength that Jun Haoyin displayed was extremely terrifying. However, the 3 of them were also peerless geniuses. No matter which one of them, they could easily crush Mo Yun. The reason why they could get along with Mo Yun was all because of his elder brother. At this moment, in the void above Mount Tai, Mo Yun's gaze was fixed on Jun Haoyin, and his expression was extremely ugly. From the previous attack, he had already felt the terrifying strength of the Holy Son of Vast Heaven. If he continued to fight, he would definitely be the one at a disadvantage in the end. Thinking of this, he looked at Qing Fengzi and said slowly, "What? You still don't plan to make a move?" Before descending on the Wuxian continent, they had already reached an agreement. After descending, they would suppress the Wuxian continent together. Now that Mo Yun's elder brother had yet to descend, they could only hope that Qing Fengzi and the others would make a move. When Qing Fengzi and the other 2 saw this, they smiled and slowly walked out. In an instant, endless true origin wreaked havoc in the void and spread throughout the land, causing the void to tremble. At this moment, all of the true origin was about to materialize, as if it would turn into a primordial beast in the next moment. At the same time, the Wuxian continent's geniuses below Mount Tai also looked at the void and said in shock, "Are these people going to attack the Holy Son of Vast Heaven together? It can't be. These people are all peerless geniuses. They shouldn't be joining forces to attack the Holy Son of Vast Heaven." That's hard to say. These geniuses from other continents won't care about such things. Seeing the scene of Qing Fengzi and the other 2 appearing, the crowd below discussed animatedly. They were worried that these people were going to attack the Holy Son of Vast Heaven together. If that was the case, no matter how strong the Holy Son of Vast Heaven was, he would not be a match for them. Even Lord Feng Xiaoyao's expression became nervous. If all of these geniuses attacked together, the Holy Son would be under a lot of pressure. Currently, the only one who had not been defeated by the geniuses from other continents was the Holy Son of Vast Heaven. Although the geniuses from other continents had not descended on the Wuxian continent for long, everyone could feel that these people were suppressing the Wuxian continent's geniuses. "Haha, you want to join forces to deal with Brother Haoyin? Do you think there's no one else on the Wuxian continent?" At that moment, there was an explosion in the void. An earth-shattering roar rang out, carrying with it an unparalleled domineering aura and power. This roar immediately attracted everyone's attention. In the endless void, a vast aura constantly surged and endless clouds began to gather. An incomparably sharp divine light shot out and gathered together to form a golden heavenly dragon. Each of the heavenly dragons was over a few thousand zhang long. At that moment, they were shuttling through the clouds, exuding the aura of an emperor, dignified and noble. At the same time, an aura that could suppress the world swept out, and countless people seemed to want to bow down in worship. And on top of those golden dragons, Emperor Xia slowly walked out, wearing a golden python robe and exuding the aura of an emperor. At that moment he was like a king, receiving the worship of thousands of living beings. When the Wuxian continent's cultivators saw this scene, their expressions were filled with shock and ecstasy. The Vermilion Bird Dynasty's crown prince, Emperor Xia. I didn't expect him to come too. Looking at how Emperor Xia addressed Vast Heaven's Holy Son, the 2 of them seemed to be familiar with each other. Haha, you don't know this. Emperor Xia also went to the Langya Grand Banquet that day, and he even had a close conversation with Vast Heaven's Holy Son for a long time. Great, now our Wuxian continent's 2 strongest prodigies have arrived. When the Wuxian continent's cultivators saw Emperor Xia's arrival, they were all incomparably excited. In their opinion, Vast Heaven's Holy Son was obviously unable to suppress 3 prodigies at the same time. But now, Emperor Xia, the #1 prodigy of Middle-earth, had also come. At that moment, if the two of them joined forces, they could definitely suppress the other 3 prodigies. Sure enough, after Emperor Xia's arrival, Lord Qing Fengzi also began to frown. They could feel that the power contained within Emperor Xia's body was extremely terrifying. If it erupted, it would definitely be earth-shattering. This person was definitely a difficult person to deal with. At that moment, they could not help but sigh in their hearts. Although the current Wuxian continent had declined, it still had a trace of foundation. To think that there were still monstrous prodigies like Emperor Xia and vast heaven's holy sun. In the next moment, Emperor Xia slowly took a step forward and came to Jun Haotian's side. The aura on his body was incomparably vast, like a true dragon, filled with endless domineering aura. As the #1 dynasty in Middle-earth, the Vermilion Bird dynasty was also the oldest dynasty. The former Vermilion Bird Supreme had even left behind a Supreme Emperor technique. Everyone who cultivated this Supreme Emperor technique would have an aura that could dominate the world and make others submit to it. From the aura on Emperor Xia's body, it was obvious that he had already cultivated this Supreme Emperor technique. The future Vermilion Bird Royal Lord position would definitely be his. One had to know that in the Vermilion Bird dynasty, only the Royal Lord was qualified to cultivate this Supreme Emperor technique. Chapter 223. Now, Emperor Xia was still the crown prince, but he could actually cultivate this Supreme Emperor technique in advance. This meant that Emperor Xia's identity as the Overlord had been confirmed. After Emperor Xia's domineering attitude, the geniuses from the other continents fell silent for a while. What? Are the 3 of you trying to bully me with numbers? At this moment, Emperor Xia looked at Qing Fengzi and the other 2 with displeasure. It was as if the real emperor was angry. When the emperor was angry, millions would die. At this moment, Emperor Xia slowly stared at the genius from the Boundless Continent. Wudian. Last time, it was this genius from the Boundless Continent who defeated the Vermilion Bird dynasty's crown prince. Originally, Wuqian wanted to challenge Emperor Xia, but Emperor Xia happened to be in seclusion and did not accept the challenge. Now that Emperor Xia saw Wuqian, he was instantly filled with battle intent, causing the entire void to rumble. As expected of the #1 genius of the Central Continent. This strength is indeed much stronger than your brother. After feeling Emperor Xia's gaze, a smile appeared on Wuqian's face. He was not afraid at all. At this moment, Qing Fengzi and Bai Libing also took a step forward. To be able to defeat the #1 genius of the Central Continent of the Wuxian continent was considered to have achieved their goal. In the future, when they returned to their own continents, this could be considered as a display of their terrifying strength. At this moment, Emperor Xia, Jun Haotian, and the other 3 geniuses from the other continents were facing off. Both sides exploded with intense battle intent. Powerful auras swept through the void, causing countless people to feel dizzy. Those who came to this world from the other continents were not mediocre. They could more or less be called geniuses. But in reality, Fengzi and the other 2 were still lacking compared to a genius like Emperor Xia. At this moment, intense battle intent exploded in the void. The aura emitted caused countless people to be in awe. Even so, they did not dare to lower their heads. This was not because of their dignity or anything. It was because they did not want to miss the scene of the battle in the sky, not even for a second. At this moment, when Emperor Xia saw the 3 of them together, he smiled and said, "Hee, the 3 of you can come together." Once Emperor Xia's words came out, everyone present was instantly shocked. This Emperor Xia's tone was so arrogant. He actually wanted to fight against 3 geniuses from the other continents at the same time. One had to know that Wuqian, Qing Fengzi, and Bai Libing were all geniuses from the other continents. When the 3 of them combined, it was not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. The combined strength of the 3 of them was enough to cause even a sempiternal realm expert's face to turn ugly. Emperor Xia's emperor's attitude instantly surprised everyone. Even Jun Haotian, who was beside him, was surprised when he saw this scene. Although he did not know he was Emperor Xia's prowess. But based on his observation, if Emperor Xia was only facing Wuqian alone, there would be no problem at all. However, if all 3 of them went up together, Emperor Xia would be at a huge disadvantage. Emperor God Emperor, Emperor Xia's God Emperors. It's just ignorance. Wuqian to the heavens 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 heavens? Then an extremely sharp aura swept out in the void, and a vast divine power vibrated out continuously. The surrounding heaven and earth essence chi froze. It was almost materialized as if it was about to explode. Emperor Xia dared to fight against 3 geniuses alone. This action infuriated them. Even in their own continents, no one dared to speak to them like this, not to mention the Wuxian continent that had declined. Although this so-called Emperor Xia's prowess was indeed terrifying, to fight all 3 of them at the same time was simply courting death. He did not take them seriously at all. What? You're allowed to bully the people of the Wuxian continent, but I'm not allowed to suppress you? As for my brother, the holy son of Haoyin, you're not qualified to challenge him. At this moment, Emperor Xia's prowess was incomparably domineering. It was completely different from the personality he displayed in front of Jun Haoyin. In fact, this was the true side of Emperor Xia. As the crown prince of the oldest dynasty in Middle-earth, his personality had always been domineering. Hearing Emperor Xia's words, Jun Haoyin also took a step forward, indicating that Emperor Xia should not be impulsive. Brother Xia, Mount Tai is about to fully open. There's no need to argue with these small fries. It's purely a waste of energy. If you want to teach them a lesson, wait until after we leave Mount Tai. There's always time. Looking at Emperor Xia, Jun Haoyin said calmly. However, when he heard Jun Haoyin's words, Emperor Xia was dumbfounded. He had thought that his previous attitude was domineering and domineering enough. However, he did not expect that in front of Jun Haoyin he was still far from being able to do so. Jun Haoyin's words directly treated Qing Fengzi and the other peerless geniuses as small fries. His tone even said that there was no need to waste time on these people. What kind of words was that? He did not take these geniuses seriously at all. He did not treat them as opponents. At this moment, even Emperor Xia was looking at Jun Haoyin in shock. Ever since he had a close conversation with Jun Haoyin that day, he felt that his brother was not as domineering as the rumors made him out to be. He even guessed that it was just a rumor. However, Jun Haoyin's performance just now was indeed as the rumors said. He was incomparably domineering and domineering. As for the martial artists of the martial god continent at the foot of Mount Tai, they were even more dumbfounded by Jun Haoyin's attitude. The Holy Son of Great Heaven was indeed the Holy Son of Great Heaven. No matter what kind of existence he was facing, he was still so domineering. Ever since the Holy Son of Great Heaven made his debut, he had always done things his own way. He was as domineering as he could be. He never cared about the feelings of others. As long as someone dared to provoke the Holy Son of Great Heaven, no matter who they were, they would not be able to make him take half a step back. While everyone was shocked, they also felt a little envious in their hearts. The reason why the Holy Son of Great Heaven could be so domineering was that he had absolute strength and the right to be domineering. It was precisely because he had unparalleled strength that others would not think that he was boasting. If someone without strength said such words, they would undoubtedly be asking for humiliation. They might even lose their lives. However, no one dared to question the words of the Holy Son of Great Heaven, because his unparalleled strength matched this domineering attitude. When Qing Fengzi and the rest heard Jun Haoyin's words, their faces immediately became extremely gloomy. The fury in their hearts was burning fiercely. One had to know that in their own world they were also famous peerless geniuses, receiving the attention of everyone. If they grew up in the future, they would definitely be existences that dominated a region. No one dared to look down on them. But now, a martial god continent's genius that had already declined actually dared to call them trash. This was even more abominable than Emperor Xia's arrogance. It was a complete humiliation to them. At this moment, Qing Fengzi and the other 2 were completely on the verge of exploding with rage. Following that, the boundless continent's genius, Wuxia, slowly took a step forward. The true essence on his body was berserk to the extreme. As peerless geniuses, the strength of the 3 of them was naturally incomparably terrifying. Geniuses naturally had their own dignity. Jun Haoyin's words had undoubtedly touched on their dignity. Holy Son of Great Heaven, please repeat what you just said again. At this moment, Qing Fengzi and Bai Libing were also looking at Jun Haoyin with a cold expression. Their eyes were filled with danger. At the same time, the geniuses from other worlds behind them also walked out together. It was as if Jun Haoyin said another word, Qing Fengzi and the rest would give the order. They would not hesitate to directly attack Jun Haoyin. Because what Jun Haoyin said earlier was not only targeted at Qing Fengzi and the rest, but also offended all of them. At this moment, the martial god continent's cultivators also felt a trace of danger. They all narrowed their eyes, exuding a chill from their bodies. They naturally knew in their hearts that from the beginning to the end, these geniuses from other continents did not have good intentions at all. If the 2 sides were to fight now, they would definitely not back down. Oh, do you still want to hear it again? When Jun Haotian heard his words, he instantly raised his sword-like eyebrows and revealed a smile on his face. In fact, in his eyes, these people were really nothing. If they were to really fight, it would not be a problem for him to destroy all the geniuses from other worlds. However, according to his words, this was indeed not a good time to attack. Previously, when he was fighting Mo Yun, he did not overdo it and did not kill him. However, it seemed that this group of people would not be as relaxed as him. At this thought, he slowly took a step forward and walked to Emperor Xia's side. He said, "I'll say it again. It's the same sentence as before. I'll give it to you without changing a word. If you are not convinced, you can directly start a fight. There's no need to waste time." When Jun Haotian said this, many martial god continents cultivators agreed. In their hearts, they also knew that compared to the ancient times, the current martial god continent had indeed declined. However, this did not mean that people from other continents could wantonly humiliate them. They had long wanted to fight these geniuses from other continents. However, they were afraid that no one would take the lead. Now that the famous holy son of Hao Tian was leading them, they were not afraid of a battle at all. When the geniuses from other continents heard this, they immediately clenched their fists. The true essence on their bodies continuously surged out and shook, setting off a terrifying storm. At this moment, the sky and earth changed color. It was incomparably terrifying. Although not all the geniuses from other continents who had descended to the martial god continent were as strong as Qing Fengzi and the others, they were all outstanding individuals. But at the very least, they were all dragons and phoenixes among men, not weaker than others. At this moment, when Emperor Xia sensed this aura, he immediately frowned. However, he was not afraid. He stood behind Jun Haotian, endless true essence constantly surging. Several golden heavenly dragons danced in the sky above him, emitting a shocking divine aura. That's right. If you want to fight, then let's fight. At this moment, no one present retreated. This matter concerned the dignity of the entire martial god continent. No one would retreat. At the same time, everyone's true essence surged, ready to attack at any time. Some of them watched this scene with grave expressions. They knew that the conflict between the martial god continent and the other continents would lead to a battle sooner or later. However, they did not expect this battle to come so soon. At this moment, both sides' auras had reached the highest level. As long as there was a slight change in the situation, the battle would immediately begin. Boom. However, at this moment, the void trembled. Countless clouds gathered thousands of miles high in the sky and even rushed into the outer realm. At the same time, all kinds of auras appeared. These auras belonged to the people who had been secretly observing earlier. They did not appear before, but now they all appeared. Of course, they were not here for the battle before them. After they appeared, their eyes were fixed on the boundless Mount Tai in front of them. At this moment, the clouds in the void gathered, and rays of golden light shot out from the clouds. At this moment, the barrier that was originally outside Mount Tai also disappeared. At the same time, an extremely vast, ancient, and mysterious aura swept out from Mount Tai. This aura instantly enveloped thousands of miles of territory around Mount Tai. Even the sun, moon, and stars in the void seemed to be affected. A brilliant aura suppressed the entire land as if an ancient supreme had descended. At this moment, everyone was watching the changes in Mount Tai. Even the two sides who were about to fight shifted their gazes. This was because Mount Tai had finally opened. As for Jun Haotian, he saw a scene that shocked him to the core. At the peak of Mount Tai, in the void that could not be looked up, he could vaguely see a stone tablet. 3 ancient characters were engraved on the surface, giving off an ancient aura. Jade Emperor Peak. This was another extremely familiar name. Looking at this scene, Jun Haotian's expression changed slightly. Of course, this was not unusual in the eyes of others. Whether it was the people of Wuxian continent or the geniuses of other continents. In their eyes, Mount Tai was just the result of the mutation of Wuxian continent. Even in ancient times there was no legend of Mount Tai. However, this was different for Jun Haotian. Whether it was Mount Tai or Jade Emperor Peak, these were all things that he was familiar with. Especially on Jade Emperor Peak, he recalled the rumors that he had heard from Emperor Xia. On Mount Tai, he had seen a vague scene of a sacrificial ceremony. Now that he thought about it, the sacrificial ceremony on Mount Tai was not simple. Because in Jun Haotian's influence, Jade Emperor Peak of Mount Tai had always been the place where ancient emperors performed sacrificial ceremonies. In addition, Jade Emperor Peak was the highest point of Mount Tai. Legend had it that standing there, one could reach the heavens and pray to the heavens. As far as Jun Haotian was concerned, everything on Mount Tai was extremely mysterious. Rumble. However, at this moment, another tremor came from the void. Endless divine light gushed out from the void. It was extremely sharp and seemed to be able to cut through all darkness. At this moment, everyone saw the scene in the void. They stared at the scattered divine light on Mount Tai. However, no one was paying attention to Jade Emperor Peak at the peak of Mount Tai. At this moment, everyone was paying attention to the barrier surrounding Mount Tai that was slowly disappearing. Chapter 224. Before this, the restrictions within 10,000 miles of Mount Tai had been removed. Cultivators could step within 10,000 meters of Mount Tai. However, the barrier around Mount Tai was still there. Mount Tai was not completely open. In everyone's eyes, Mount Tai was extremely mysterious. Before Mount Tai was completely open, no one dared to barge in. Only when Mount Tai was completely open would they be able to enter. At that moment, everyone was attracted by the ancient and vast Mount Tai in front of them. The boundless and distant aura that was emitted from Mount Tai was extremely shocking. During this period, the entire martial god continent was rumored to have great opportunities within Mount Tai. However, no one knew exactly what this opportunity or fortune was. Moreover, this extremely mysterious Mount Tai had appeared out of nowhere. It appeared out of thin air within the Vermilion Bird dynasty. There were no records of it in the ancient times. Moreover, the timing of Mount Tai's appearance was also ingenious. One had to know that this was the time of the martial god continent's calamity. The 5 decays of heavenly beings were about to descend. Every mutation represented not only a calamity, but also endless fortune and opportunity. The appearance of Mount Tai had caused the previously imminent battle to stop. The conflict between the two sides had been temporarily alleviated. Everyone was looking at the change in front of them. At that moment, beams of divine light suddenly flickered in the void. Every beam of divine light represented the appearance of a peerless powerhouse. There were Azure Dragon Dynasty, Black Tortoise Dynasty, White Tiger Dynasty, various Demon Clan powerhouses, and also powerhouses from human sacred grounds. Previously, these powerhouses had been secretly observing. Now that Mount Tai was completely open, if they did not appear, the opportunity of Mount Tai would be taken by others first. On the path of cultivation, if one was slow, one would be slow at every step. At that moment, countless people stood in the void. Everyone was looking at Mount Tai in front of them. Rumble. At that moment, another explosion sounded in the void. Endless clouds began to surge at that moment. An extremely vast pressure descended from heaven and earth, sweeping across tens of thousands of miles. Many cultivators could not withstand it and their bodies gradually bent. The power on Mount Tai was constantly rampaging. Waves of hurricanes howled and it was extremely terrifying. Outside Mount Tai, more and more powerhouses gathered outside as the divine light descended from the void. Holy Son of Haotian. At this moment, a gentle voice came from behind Jun Haotian. Hearing this, Jun Haotian turned around and saw the Jade Lake Saint Guyue Huang slowly walking out of the crowd towards Jun Haotian. At this moment, the Jade Lake Saint was smiling. She was wearing a white dress and looked extremely beautiful, like a fairy that had descended to the mortal world. The aura of the Jade Lake Saintess was especially mysterious. Her aura was vast and majestic, but it also carried a sense of gentleness. Jun Haotian could sense that the Jade Lake Saint's cultivation had reached the peak of the Transcendence realm. Jun Haotian was a little surprised by such a fast cultivation speed. After all, the Jade Lake Holy Maiden was merely at the Monarch realm when he met her the last time. Now that they had met again, he had actually jumped a whole realm. When I went back that time, I entered the Jade Lake to cultivate. That's why I made such progress. Seeing Jun Haotian's expression, Guyue Huang immediately guessed Jun Haotian's thoughts. Jun Haotian didn't react to the Jade Lake Saintess's words. Beside Jun Haotian, Emperor Xia was shocked when he heard the Jade Lake Saintess's words. He looked at the Jade Lake Saintess in shock and said slowly, "I heard that the Jade Lake Sacred Ground is called the Jade Lake Sacred Ground not only because its founder is the Jade Lake Supreme, but also because the Jade Lake Sacred Ground is known as the #1 creation divine lake in the martial god realm. But I heard that the creation divine lake only opens once every 50,000 years to cultivate the next successor of the Saintess. Of course, not every successor of the Saintess has such a fortuitous encounter. The last time the Jade Lake Saintess entered the Jade Lake was 50,000 years ago. After obtaining the power of creation of the Jade Lake Saintess of that generation became one of the most terrifying figures of that time. I didn't expect you to have such a fortuitous encounter." Emperor Xia looked at Guyue Huang and clicked his tongue in wonder. Then, as if he had thought of something, he looked at Jun Haotian with a strange look in his eyes. Jun Haotian was also shocked when he heard Emperor Xia's words. As long as one entered the Jade Lake, they would shed their mortal body and give birth to the most terrifying divine fetus. From then on, their cultivation would progress rapidly. If there were other fortuitous encounters, they might be able to compete for the path of Dao validation in the future. The power of the Jade Lake was extremely terrifying. Now that the Jade Lake Saintess had entered the Jade Lake, she must have evolved into a divine fetus. This was a monstrous opportunity. Unfortunately, the next time the Jade Lake sacred ground opened would have to wait for another 50,000 years. However, after thinking about it, Jun Haotian understood the Jade Lake sacred ground's thoughts. Now that the 5 decay of heavenly beings had arrived, if the Jade Lake sacred ground was not mobilized now, it would be destroyed in this disaster and there would be no more opportunities in the future. Moreover, if they did not cultivate an outstanding descendant now, the Jade Lake sacred ground would not be able to gain any benefits in this disaster. Of course, this was also because the Jade Lake Saintess of this generation was very outstanding and indeed qualified to enter the Jade Lake. When Gu Yuehuang heard Emperor Xia's words and looked at Jun Haotian's expression, she suddenly felt helpless. However, she also understood that without the Jade Lake, she would not be able to compete with the 2 geniuses in front of her. Then, as all the geniuses of the major forces arrived, Jun Haotian discovered a phenomenon. Not only the Jade Lake Saintess, but the descendants of the other major forces also seemed to have greatly improved their strength. It seemed that in order to deal with this disaster, all the major forces had taken out their trump cards. Even the Holy Sun of the Luotian Sacred Ground and the Green Cloud Sacred Ground had greatly improved their strength and reached the Transcendence Realm. The foundation of a sacred ground was indeed not to be underestimated. Just like the time when the Langya Sacred Ground helped Jun Haotian break through to the peak of the Transcendence Realm at all costs. The 7 major sacred grounds of the human race all had a strong foundation. Look, Mount Tai is changing. At that moment, a voice came from the void and immediately attracted everyone's attention. At that moment, everyone's eyes were looking in the direction of Mount Tai. At that moment, at the peak of Mount Tai, a huge star flashed and rays of starlight fell from the void like a waterfall. Every ray of starlight seemed to be able to tear the void apart. Then the starlight landed on Mount Tai and merged with it as if it was full of vitality, blending together. Boundless divine light continued to appear, and a series of deafening roars could be heard. As time passed, the light gradually condensed and slowly took shape. Finally, in front of everyone's eyes, a huge door formed in front of Mount Tai. The door was hundreds of feet tall and dozens of feet wide. It stood between heaven and earth and was filled with an ancient and vast aura. At the highest point of the door was a true dragon's body carved. The true dragon's body was lifelike as if it would soar into the sky at any time. For some reason, everyone felt that the statue in front of them was a true dragon statue at a glance, and not some primordial celestial dragon. Although there were many primordial celestial dragons, to humans, they were incomparably powerful the moment they were born. However, in the primordial celestial dragon race, only one true dragon could be born in each era. Once a true dragon was born, it would become the leader of the primordial celestial dragon race. Directly ruling over 10,000 dragons, it was the highest leader of the primordial celestial dragon race. In some ways, the leader of the primordial celestial dragon race's true dragon was even more powerful than human paragons. The moment the ancient door appeared in front of Mount Tai, it attracted everyone's attention. Then, everyone looked down the true dragon statue at the bottom of the door. Above the tall door frame, there were dazzling scales that resembled true dragons. They were as dazzling as the sun. However, if one took a closer look, one would realize that each dragon scale had a star attached to it. It was just a dragon scale and there was a star carved on it. If it was a real true dragon that lived in the world, how terrifying would its strength be? At that moment, the door in front of Mount Tai was like a true dragon that had manifested, directly appearing in front of everyone. At that moment, even the geniuses from other great worlds were staring straight at the door. True dragons came from celestial dragons, and the celestial dragon continent was one of the top 10 continents in the Trichiliocosm. Although the geniuses from the celestial dragon continent had yet to descend, the power of the celestial dragon continent was enough to make the geniuses from other continents wary. At that moment, the appearance of the true dragon door in front of Mount Tai shocked everyone. However, there was one difference. This true dragon statue did not have the aura of a true dragon. Otherwise, if the aura of the primordial true dragon was completely dispersed, there would be countless deaths and injuries. After a moment of observation, Jun Haoyan had already figured out that the door in front of him was just a door built by the mysterious power of Mount Tai. Now that such a situation had occurred, Jun Haoyan guessed that it might be related to the secret of Mount Tai. In the celestial dragon continent, there were many primordial celestial dragons. However, in every era, only one true dragon would be born. According to ancient records, the last time a true dragon was born was nearly 300,000 years ago. In the Trichiliacosm, there were tens of thousands of tribes and countless powerhouses, just like the stars in the sky. In the celestial dragon tribe, no one dared to call themselves a true dragon. A true dragon could be said to be an existence that could break through the void and become a deity. Even if it entered the realm of gods, it would be an overlord. The various abstruse and mysterious changes that occurred when Mount Tai was opened made the outsiders even more interested in it. At that moment, everyone was waiting quietly. Everyone knew that the moment the door opened, it would be the moment they could enter Mount Tai. Just like that, as time passed, more and more divine lights appeared, as if they were going to illuminate the entire world. Finally, at some point, the endless divine lights in the void slowly disappeared. The door in front of Mount Tai was finally completed. Roar. At that moment, the true dragon statue on the door actually looked up to the sky and roared, as if it wanted to break through the shackles of this world and directly soar into the sky. Seeing this scene, countless people were shocked, but they quickly calmed down. Now that the true dragon door has been completed, we can directly enter Mount Tai. That's right, let's hurry up. Mount Tai contains a supreme fortune. My fortune will definitely be ours. Haha, after waiting for so long, we can finally enter. Seeing that the true dragon door was completed, countless people outside Mount Tai immediately shouted excitedly. Then, countless people turned into streams of light and directly rushed into the true dragon door. The moment the true dragon door was completed, there was no longer any danger outside Mount Tai, and anyone could enter. Boom. But at that moment, the true dragon statue on the true dragon door suddenly opened its eyes, emitting a powerful and brilliant divine aura. The next moment, a divine light was spat out from its mouth, directly killing an immortal longevity realm peerless powerhouse. Everyone saw this incomparably terrifying scene in front of them. The immortal longevity realm powerhouse was hit by the divine light, and his body directly exploded, turning into a rain of blood that scattered into the void. In fact, before entering, the Vermilion Bird dynasty had already announced. Martial artists above the immortal realm were not allowed to enter Mount Tai. However, the countless fortunes on Mount Tai immediately attracted countless greedy people. They did not believe in this at all and insisted on going in. Now, a peerless immortal longevity realm powerhouse was actually killed on the spot, and his lifetime's cultivation was destroyed in an instant. Haha, so these are the martial artists of the martial god continent? How stupid. At that moment, the peerless prodigy of the boundless continent slowly spoke. His tone was full of mockery. Obviously, they had also seen the terrifying scene just now. Then he looked at Jun Haoyan and the others. Holy son of Haoyan, this trip to Mount Tai is definitely a one-way trip for you. That's right, Mount Tai will definitely be the burial place of the martial artists of the martial god continent. Don't let us meet you there. Holy son of Haoyan, Mount Tai will be the place where you die. At that moment, Qing Fengzi and Bai Libing also spoke, looking at the holy son of Haoyan coldly. Now that Mount Tai had been opened, there was no point in killing in the outside world. Therefore, the group of prodigies from other continents unanimously decided to kill the holy son of Haoyan in Mount Tai. However, when Jun Haoyan heard these words, his expression did not change at all. I'll return the same words to you. I guarantee that you will never leave Mount Tai. Jun Haoyan spat out a few words coldly. His aura was incomparably domineering, and no one dared to look directly at him. With the strength of these people in front of him, if he met them in Mount Tai, he could easily kill them. This was just a waste of time. He did not take these people's threats to heart at all. When they heard Qing Fengzi and the others' words, Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang stepped forward and stood on either side of Emperor Xia, not backing down at all. If these people dared to attack, they would not hold back either. Chapter 225. Let's wait and see. Hearing Jun Haoyan's words, Qing Fengzi and the other two snorted coldly. They looked at Jun Haoyan and the other two coldly and then left. Without the slightest hesitation, they turned into streams of light and entered the true dragon gate. Brother Haoyan, Jade Lake Saint, let's go in too. After Qing Fengzi and the others entered, Emperor Xia said to Jun Haoyan and Gu Yuehuang. He looked at the true dragon gate with a hint of curiosity in his eyes. He was really curious about what was hidden in this mysterious Mount Tai. Yes, Holy Sun Haoyan, let's go in too. If we're late, these guys will get the good stuff first. At this time, Gu Yuehuang also nodded and wanted to enter the real dragon gate. Let's go in too, Jun Haoyan said. Then the three of them turned into three streams of light and quickly headed toward the real dragon gate. The moment they arrived at the real dragon gate, a vast power swept out. Finally, they passed through the real dragon gate and entered the interior of Mount Tai. At this moment, the endless stars in the outside world receded rapidly. The void disappeared and the entire world fell silent. Jun Haoyan and the other two seemed to have crossed a space-time tunnel and arrived at another unknown world. After entering the real dragon gate, Jun Haoyan found that Emperor Xia and the Jade Lake Saint were still by his side. When they passed through the real dragon gate, the three of them were not separated by the space-time turbulence. If this was done well, Mount Tai would be filled with unknown dangers. If he was alone, he might really encounter some danger. The vast divine light disappeared, and the entire world seemed to have solidified. There was an earth-shaking change, revealing an aura that was completely different from that of the martial god continent. When Jun Haoyan and the others opened their eyes again, they were surrounded by a vast expanse of whiteness. They were actually standing on a huge mountain. This place was completely different from what they saw in the outside world. When they were outside Mount Tai, they clearly saw a lush green area. At that time, in their eyes, Mount Tai should be a place full of vitality. But now, the area where Jun Haoyan and the others were in was actually an abnormally cold place. When he was in the outside world, Jun Haoyan already knew how big Mount Tai was. Even the Supreme Being's remains that he entered last time couldn't compare to it. Perhaps when entering the True Dragon Gate, martial artists who did not enter the True Dragon together would be sent to different places. Now, millions of martial artists had entered Mount Tai, but there was not a single person to be seen. Only Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang were by Jun Haoyan's side. The three of them entered at the same time and did not separate. They appeared in this icy land together. At this moment, they only felt that the world had become incomparably heavy. Whether it was on the ground or in the void, this place was completely different from the martial god continent. Jun Haoyan gave it a try. Even if it was an ordinary mountain rock, even a true element boundary martial artist with true essence would not be able to break it. The laws of heaven and earth in this world seemed to be much stronger than those in the martial god continent. Moreover, there was an ancient aura here. Of course, if it was the ancient martial god continent, which was ranked in the top 10 of the 3,000 worlds, it would not necessarily be worse than Mount Tai. However, because of the previous 5 Devas decay, the martial god continent was not as good as it used to be and had become the declining state it was in today. Is this the inside of Mount Tai? It looks similar to the Supreme Being's remains. Gu Yuehuang looked around and found that there was nothing special about this place. It was just that the aura of heaven and earth had become a little heavier. This was probably because the concentration of heaven and earth origin chi in the void was different. With her status, she never had to worry about heaven and earth origin chi. Therefore, in her opinion, this Mount Tai's remains was not as magical as the legend said. However, she was also a little surprised that these scenes were only inside Mount Tai. The vastness of this Mount Tai could only be felt when one was inside it. This was just like a distant star. The closer it was, the bigger the star would be. Moreover, she also found that after arriving here, because the pressure in the void had increased, the speed of flying in the air had also increased. Some true energy realm martial artists might not even be able to fly in the air here. It is said that in the Xianhuang continent, which is ranked first in the 3,000 worlds, even ordinary Yuandan realm martial artists can't fly in the air. Looking at this situation, this Mount Tai is almost as big as the Xianhuang continent. At this time, Emperor Xia looked around and said slowly, as the crown prince of the oldest dynasty in the central region, he naturally knew a lot of things. There is indeed such a saying in the Xianhuang continent. However, compared to the Xianhuang continent, there is still a gap between the inside of Mount Tai. Hearing Emperor Xia's words, Gu Yuehuang nodded slowly with a solemn look on her face. She could feel that this Mount Tai was very mysterious. The scene here was completely different from what she had seen in the outside world. At this time, she also felt the ancient and heavy aura that kept coming from the void, which made the environment around them a little cold. Let's go and see what is so magical about this Mount Tai. Jun Haoyan interrupted them. There was no need to talk about it here. Only after carefully exploring Mount Tai could they know what was so magical about it. Hearing this, Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang nodded immediately. Then, after Jun Haoyin chose a direction, the three of them immediately moved in that direction. They did not choose to fly in the air. The inside of Mount Tai was full of strange things. Flying in the air was too dangerous. Moreover, exploring Mount Tai on foot might uncover more secrets. The three of them were all powerful martial artists. With a casual step, they could directly cross a distance of several miles. This speed was not slow at all. As time passed, the three of them kept moving forward. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Jun Haoyin could clearly feel that the temperature around them had actually dropped again. They were already Transcendence Realm martial artists. They were only one step away from breaking through to the immortal realm. As for the ordinary cold, they almost could not feel it anymore. However, after reaching the inside of Mount Tai, Jun Haoyin and the others actually felt a gust of cold. The temperature here was so high that if an ordinary person was here, they would probably be frozen into an ice cube immediately. The cold here is very strange. It can even penetrate our protective ethereal force. Feeling the cold, Emperor Xia frowned slightly. Although the cold was not dangerous enough to cause any harm, it made him feel a little strange. Why didn't I see this glacier in the outside world earlier? How big is this mysterious Mount Tai? At this time, Guiyue Huang discovered a different problem. Jun Haoyin and Emperor Xia were a little surprised. Previously, when they were in the outside world, they could not see the existence of this huge glacier at all. Jun Haoyin guessed that perhaps Mount Tai was really a complete continent. However, this was only a guess in his heart. He did not tell Emperor Xia and Guiyue Huang. As for the surrounding cold, Jun Haoyin did not feel the slightest bit. He cultivated the heavenly heart frost arrogance, which was an extreme yin cultivation technique. The cold had no effect on him at all. Then, the three of them did not stay any longer and continued to move forward. Although it was extremely cold this time, with Emperor Xia and Guiyue Huang's strength, using their ethereal force to resist it was not much of an effect. Then they walked directly into the glacier. This glacier stretched for thousands of miles and one could not see the end of it. There was actually such a vast and majestic territory in Mount Tai. It was simply shocking. Was this Mount Tai really just a simple mountain peak? At this moment, Jun Haoyin was even more certain of his guess. Tsk. This glacier is not simple. My full force attack just now could not break through this layer of ice. This is unbelievable. At this time, Emperor Xia suddenly spoke, his tone full of amazement. Just now, he was bored and had struck at the glacier with his palm. However, to his surprise, not a single mark was left on the glacier after he struck it with his palm. One should know that Xia Tianzi was a peerless genius at the peak of the Transcendence Realm. He also cultivated a killing technique. Under his full force attack, even an elite of the immortal realm would not dare to underestimate it. However, Xia Tianzi's attack could not even leave a scratch on the glacier. This was enough to show how extraordinary this glacier was. However, at this moment, Jun Haoyin's expression turned serious. No, there's something wrong here. Upon hearing Jun Haoyin's words, Emperor Xia and Guiyue Huang were stunned. Then, the two of them came to their senses and looked around with vigilance. Since Jun Haoyin had said so, there must be some danger around them. They had to be careful. Previously, they did not notice that this glacier seemed a little strange. There was a special aura in the air showing how extraordinary this glacier was. Then, the three of them looked at each other and walked forward again. They wanted to explore this mysterious glacier. However, as the three of them went deeper and deeper into this area, Jun Haoyin and the rest realized that the three of them were actually lost in this glacier. Everything that happened after entering Mount Tai surprised the three of them. This Mount Tai was full of mysteries that were unfathomable. However, the three of them were confident in their strength and were not afraid at all. After some discussion, the three of them decided to split up and explore the secrets hidden in this glacier. As time passed, the three of them split up and explored the glacier. However, about half an hour later, the three of them met again. Brother Haoyin, did you find anything? Emperor Xia looked at Jun Haoyin. Obviously, he did not find anything. The only thing I found is that this glacier is very big. This Mount Tai is even bigger. Hearing that, Jun Haoyin could only smile bitterly. According to his estimation, this glacier alone was tens of thousands of miles long. On top of Mount Tai, there was a glacier that was tens of thousands of miles long. Moreover, not all glaciers were on top of Mount Tai. The location of this glacier could not be found from the outside world. Moreover, only when one was on top of this glacier could one feel the coldness. If one was far away from this huge glacier, they would feel the coldness gradually diminish. Did you find anything? At this time, Jun Haoyin looked at Guiyue Huang. After a careful examination, I discovered that there is actually a special formation hidden within the glacier. This formation is very extraordinary. Moreover, I feel that there is something sealed within this formation. Seeing Jun Haoyin's gaze, Gu Yuehuang suddenly became nervous. After pondering for a moment, she said something shocking. Hearing Gu Yuehuang's words, Emperor Xia and Jun Haoyin looked at each other. The two of them did not doubt Gu Yuehuang's words at all, because in their hearts they also had the same feeling. However, the two of them were not very familiar with array formations and were not very sure. However, Gu Yuehuang was an absolute genius in the study of array formations. Among the younger generation of Wuxian continent, if Gu Yuehuang claimed to be second in array formations, no one would dare to claim to be first. This was Gu Yuehuang's unique talent. Therefore, Gu Yuehuang said that there was an array formation here and something was sealed under it. Jun Haoyin and Emperor Xia did not doubt this at all. They really wanted to know what was sealed under this array formation. They wondered if Gu Yuehuang could break this array formation. As if she felt the doubts of the two of them, Gu Yuehuang suddenly spoke slowly. This array formation is above this glacier. I've already tested it just now. This array formation is already very damaged. It should be because this array formation has been here for too long. Although I can't break it now, as long as I have 2 hours to study it, I'm 80% sure that I can break a corner of this array formation. Hearing Gu Yuehuang's words, Jun Haoyin and Emperor Xia immediately nodded in agreement. This glacier obviously had a secret, and it might be related to the secret of Mount Tai. Naturally, they were very curious. What does a little bit of time count for? After that, Gu Yuehuang obtained some materials to break the array formation from Jun Haoyin and Emperor Xia, and began to study the array formation. Meanwhile, Jun Haoyin and Emperor Xia waited quietly by the side. After obtaining the materials she needed, Gu Yuehuang walked out of the glacier and continuously drew array formations in the void. At the same time, Gu Yuehuang arranged various materials according to their positions to activate the array formation. As for this, Emperor Xia and Jun Haoyin knew nothing about it. They could only watch obediently from the side. The Tao of array formations required talent and a long period of research. For ordinary people, they might not be able to understand an array formation in their lifetime. And Gu Yuehuang's talent in array formation was undoubtedly very high. Jun Haoyin already knew this when he was in the Supreme Being's ruins. Back then, he had relied on Gu Yuehuang to break the array formation left behind by the Supreme Being. That was how he could meet Bai Ming Han and obtain the 7 treasures Bodhi tree. If even the Supreme Being's array formation could be broken, this array formation of Mount Tai should not be a problem. However, what surprised Jun Haoyin was that even an array formation genius like Gu Yuehuang could not help but frown at the array formation in front of her. Obviously, she had encountered a difficult problem that could not be solved for the time being. Chapter 226. Of course, even if it was a difficult problem, with Gu Yuehuang's talent and formations, she would be able to solve it quickly. For the next period of time, only Gu Yuehuang and a busy figure were left on the glacier. Actually, I've read some secret information before. Legend has it that Mount Tai was an ancient divine mountain in the Wuxian continent during the ancient times. Unknowingly, Emperor Xia had slowly approached Jun Haoyin. In his mind, he recalled the records he had read before. Hearing Emperor Xia's words, Jun Haoyin's expression suddenly changed. This was the first time he had heard of such a thing. Whether it was the other forces in the Wuxian continent or the Langya sacred ground, he had never heard of any records of Mount Tai. This caused everyone to think that Mount Tai had suddenly appeared because of the great calamity of the world. To be honest, I saw these records in the notes left behind by the first emperor of the Vermilion Bird dynasty, the Supreme Vermilion Bird. It did mention the existence of Mount Tai. As if sensing Jun Haoyin's disbelief, Emperor Xia immediately continued. The first emperor of the Vermilion Bird dynasty was a supreme who shocked the world. The Supreme Vermilion Bird had once ruled the entire Wuxian continent. At that time, there were no other dynasties or sacred grounds on the Wuxian continent. The Supreme Vermilion Bird at that time was unparalleled in strength and could compete with the deities of the realm of gods. He had even participated in the famous Great War of Gods and Demons. If Emperor Xia had seen the existence of Mount Tai in the notes left behind by the Supreme Vermilion Bird, then it was very likely to be true. The Mount Tai in front of them was a divine mountain from the ancient times. Is there any other information about Mount Tai in the notes? Looking at Emperor Xia, Jun Haoyin asked again. He desperately wanted to know more about Mount Tai. There were very few records in the notes. There were only a few words about Mount Tai. It didn't mention much. That's all I know. Hearing this, Jun Haoyin was a little disappointed. He had thought that he could get detailed information about Mount Tai from Emperor Xia. It seemed that he had to explore it himself. Holy son of Haotian, Emperor Xia, come over quickly. At this moment, Guyue Wang's voice was heard. Jun Haotian could even feel that Guyue Wang's voice was trembling. Upon hearing this, Jun Haotian and Emperor Xia were stunned and immediately took a step forward. In the next moment, the two of them appeared beside Guyue Wang. However, when Jun Haotian and Emperor Xia arrived, their eyes were filled with surprise. At the same time, Guyue Wang's hands were constantly drawing various array seals, activating the array in the void. Suddenly, a mysterious light of Tao Xian shuttled through the void like a dancing flood dragon. Under the interweaving of countless divine lights, the entire glacier began to glow. Then the originally snow-white and hazy glacier suddenly became transparent. After that, in just an hour the entire glacier began to change. It slowly became transparent and pure. At the same time, Jun Haotian and the other two stared at the glacier that had become transparent in front of them, afraid that they would miss a single detail. After a while, when the abstruse and mysterious divine light completely disappeared, Jun Haotian and Guyue Wang saw the scene before them clearly. At this moment their expressions changed drastically. They stared at the thing in the glacier, their eyes wide open and filled with disbelief. The scene before his eyes was simply too shocking. There was actually a dragon sealed in the glacier in front of them. A real dragon. Jun Haotian sensed carefully and realized that the real dragon sealed in the glacier actually contained endless vitality. It was as if it could break the seal and break through the glacier in the next moment. At this moment, above the glacier, Guyue Wang and Emperor Xia looked at the real dragon under the glacier. Their eyes were slightly dazed and they were completely speechless. Even though the two of them were peerless geniuses who had seen a lot of things, they could not help but be stunned when they looked at the real dragon below. Before this, they had guessed that some ferocious beast was sealed under the glacier. However, they never expected that there was a real dragon sealed under the glacier. In their eyes, the real dragon in front of them was at least tens of thousands of feet long. At this moment, Jun Haotian and the other two could faintly feel the heartbeat of the real dragon. The violent frequency of the heartbeat made Jun Haotian and the other two feel their blood boiling. At this moment, their hearts were filled with amazement. When they entered Mount Tai, they had passed through the gate of the real dragon. However, they never expected that there was a real dragon hidden in Mount Tai. Moreover, it was a real dragon that was alive. No matter who it was, such a terrifying existence would cause them to panic. However, after a period of time, Jun Haotian and the others discovered that the real dragon had been sealed by the Supreme Existence. This made Emperor Xia finally understand why he could not move the glacier at all no matter how hard he tried. One had to know that the thing sealed inside was a Supreme Real Dragon. With just the power of blood it could easily kill the three of them. At this thought, they began to carefully size up the real dragon in front of them. Its body was tens of thousands of miles long, and each of its dragon scales seemed to be engraved with a star, vast and boundless. Such a terrifying existence, with just the dragon scales on its body, it could become indestructible and destroy the galaxy at will. Even if the real dragon in front of them was sealed under the glacier, they could clearly feel the terrifying vitality. The real dragon in front of them was definitely still alive. Moreover, its strength was definitely still at its peak. At this thought, Jun Haotian and the other two looked at each other and swallowed with difficulty. They were all in disbelief. A living true dragon, what a terrifying existence it was. If this real dragon is born in the future, it will definitely be an invincible existence. After a long while, Emperor Xia looked at the real dragon in the glacier and sighed. Jun Haotian and Guyue Wang also agreed with Emperor Xia's words. The dragon race was one of the most powerful races in the world. Legend had it that in ancient times, the dragon race originally belonged to the demon race. However, the dragon race was extremely proud. One day they actually broke away from the demon race and formed their own race. They even established a new continent that belonged to the dragon race, the Sky Dragon continent, and called themselves the Sky Dragon race. Today, the Sky Dragon continent was already ranked in the top 10 of the 3,000 worlds. According to Jun Haotian and the other two's observations, the real dragon in front of them was definitely not a young one, but an adult one. Such a terrifying existence was definitely an invincible existence. Even if it was sealed in this glacier for an unknown number of years, the real dragon was still at its peak. Therefore, Emperor Xia's words were indeed correct. Once this real dragon was born, it would definitely be an invincible existence. Fortunately, it seemed that the real dragon had not been interrupted by its birth and was still in a deep sleep. Otherwise, all the so-called geniuses on Mount Tai would have died under the body of this real dragon. However, it was also possible that the real dragon was sealed by an array and could not be born at this moment. Jun Haoyin and the others probed the glacier with their divine souls and could only feel the real dragon's violent qi and blood. However, they could not sense the existence of its divine soul. At this moment, Jun Haoyin and the other two did not dare to forcefully awaken the real dragon. After all, they did not know whether the real dragon would be an enemy or a friend when it woke up. Moreover, according to Guyue Huang, the array in this glacier was too abstruse and mysterious. Even she could not completely break it. Actually, this was normal. How could a mere Guyue Huang be able to break an array that could seal an existence like the real dragon? After a while, Jun Haoyin and the other two began to change their target. They no longer paid attention to the real dragon. The most important thing now was to quickly explore the secrets of Mount Tai. Perhaps the existence of this real dragon was just the tip of the iceberg of Mount Tai? In my opinion, this real dragon will be born sooner or later. I wonder what kind of changes it will bring to the Wuxian continent. Jade Lake Saint, let's continue to hide this real dragon. We are not the only ones on Mount Tai. If news of a real dragon on Mount Tai spreads, it will cause a huge uproar. At this moment, Jun Haoyin looked at Guyue Huang and spoke slowly. Since they could not break the array, it was best to continue hiding the real dragon. If people from other continents knew about the real dragon's existence and spread the news to the 3,000 worlds, then the Wuxian continent would never have peace again. When Emperor Xia and Guyue Huang heard this, they nodded in agreement. Then Guyue Huang began to set up the array. When the glacier became hazy again, Jun Haoyin and the other two continued on their journey. They had just entered Mount Tai and they had already encountered a real dragon. At this moment, they were all looking forward to finding out what kind of shocking secret was hidden in Mount Tai. The entire Mount Tai was so big that it was like a small world. The secret that existed here might not even be known by the supreme beings. It should be a coincidence that we met the real dragon. After all, there is only one real dragon in the entire 3,000 worlds. At this moment, Emperor Xia suddenly spoke. Jun Haoyin nodded when he heard this. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, a real dragon had been born in the Wuxian continent. According to the ancient records, the real dragon was invincible. However, in the end it was killed by a supreme being. However, no one knew if the real dragon recorded in the ancient records was the one under the glacier. Even in the current trichiliocosm, there was only one true dragon. They did not expect to meet a real dragon on Mount Tai. Considering how precious real dragons were, this might be the only time in their lives that they would see the real dragon. As the three of them continued to move forward, they did not know when, but when they passed by an area, the scene in front of them changed instantly. The glacier that they could not see the end of previously had completely disappeared. Such an unforeseen event instantly caused the three of them to be extremely shocked. Rumble. At this moment, the void trembled, attracting the attention of the three of them. Another change had occurred on the peak of Mount Tai. In the eyes of the three of them, bursts of divine light shot out from the void. The entire Mount Tai was trembling. Streaks of incomparably sharp auras rampaged in the void, sweeping up layer by layer towards the sky. As they soared into the sky, the entire world seemed to tremble. At the peak of Mount Tai, streaks of halos burst out as if they were going to cover the entire area. This was especially so for the nearby stars. Endless starlight continued to fall, enveloping the entire Mount Tai within it. Streaks of astonishing light pillars rumbled in Mount Tai. The void even emitted bursts of golden lotuses, displaying endless gorgeous colors. It was like the most beautiful scenery in the world. Jun Haoyin, Emperor Xia, and the other two were currently at the mountainside of Mount Tai. They were still quite a distance away from the peak of Mount Tai. Even so, they could still feel the vast aura above the void. It was incomparably clear, as if it was right in front of them. The scene. Could it be that a treasure has appeared on the peak of Mount Tai? Looking at the divine light that filled the sky, Emperor Xia's eyes revealed a hint of surprise. Hearing Emperor Xia's words, Guyue Huang also nodded. In the next moment, a faint green glow appeared in her eyes as she looked at the peak of Mount Tai that was enveloped by divine light. She activated her ocular technique, wanting to see the situation on the peak of Mount Tai. However, to her disappointment, the ocular technique that could see through everything in the past did not work on Mount Tai. Even if she activated it with all her might, she could not see the situation on the peak. Her vision and her ability seemed to be suppressed by something. She could only see a rough outline. If it were the outside world, this distance would not be a problem for her at all. I wonder if anyone has reached the peak of Mount Tai. Gu Yuehuang looked at the peak of Mount Tai and said with a complicated tone. Since she could not see clearly, Gu Yuehuang immediately gave up. At this moment she thought to herself that if someone was at the peak of Mount Tai, that person would have obtained great fortune. However, when Emperor Xia heard her words, he shook his head slightly and rejected Gu Yuehuang's speculation. Actually, according to the ancient records of the Vermilion Bird dynasty, even after Mount Tai is completely opened, no one will directly reach the peak of Mount Tai. This was the information that Emperor Xia had obtained from the Supreme Vermilion Bird's handwritten letter and the deduction of the current Vermilion Bird Emperor. After entering Mount Tai, cultivators who wanted to reach the peak of Mount Tai would be greatly obstructed. It would not be so easy for people to enter the final destination. No matter what, we have to go and take a look. At this moment, Jun Haoyan spoke slowly and made a decision. However, no one knew that at this moment, the peerless true dragon sealed under the glacier had actually slowly opened its eyes. This adult true dragon, the adult true dragon that Emperor Xia had mentioned, had actually opened its eyes at this moment. In the next moment, those eyes, which were like the sun, seemed to contain endless vicissitudes, ancient and distant. Of course, it also represented invincible strength. The true dragon's eyes seemed to see through everything in the world. It just quietly stayed where it was. However, its 1,000-foot-long snake body was still unable to move at all. From this pair of eyes, one could see that a true dragon was still alive. However, after a moment, the true dragon actually closed its eyes again. Just like before, it was as if it had never opened its eyes. Chapter 227. About 4 hours later in Mount Tai. At this moment, Jun Haoyan, Emperor Xia, and Gu Yuehuang were walking side by side, quickly advancing forward. Now they had already left the cold glacier. The surrounding environment had changed. All of them were towering trees that were hundreds of feet tall. Each giant tree needed at least 10 people to wrap their arms around it. Here, any random vine was as thick as a water tank. All of this looked extremely strange. During this period, the three of them encountered some animals that were larger than those outside. Some were even 10 times larger than the animals outside. Most importantly, although the creatures on Mount Tai did not have a very strong cultivation base, their physical bodies were extremely strong. They were much stronger than the monsters outside of the same realm. This place was like an ancient forest that existed in the primordial era. Everything here was astonishing. It was filled with all kinds of poisonous insects, giant snakes and so on. These poisonous insects and giant snakes were not only strong, but they also carried a strong poison. Even if it was an ordinary origin core stage expert, if they were bitten, they would probably lose their lives on the spot. Overall, this was a very dangerous area. Of course, this was nothing to Jun Haoyan and the other two. The three of them were already elites at the peak of the Transcendence realm and had extremely terrifying strength. They were not afraid of these things at all. What really made them feel uncomfortable was not these poisonous insects, giant snakes, and vines. It was the suppression that existed in this world. During this period, as the three of them continued to advance into Mount Tai, they realized that the suppression between heaven and earth was getting stronger and stronger. Now, even flying in the air was difficult. Although this suppression did not affect the inner yuan in their bodies, it was extremely difficult to fly in the air. One had to know that the three of them were all at the peak of the Transcendence realm. Now they could not even fly in the air here. This was simply inconceivable. Now that we've walked out of the mountainside and are heading towards the peak of Mount Tai, I think the others should be the same. At this time, Emperor Xia spoke. In his opinion, the martial artist who entered Mount Tai through the True Dragon Gate could only reach the mountainside at most. Everyone was at the same starting line. No one would reach the peak at this time. Just now, they had also met a few cultivators who were heading towards the peak of the mountain. Mount Tai was simply too big. Even with the strength of Jun Haoyan and the others, if they wanted to reach the peak of the mountain, they would need at least 10 days. After all, the peak of Mount Tai had already reached the outer realm, and it was surrounded by many stars. The height of Mount Tai was simply inestimable. It was even approaching the height of an ordinary star. They hadn't reached the fifth realm of Immortal Realm yet. Of course, they needed a lot of time. Brother Xia, let's hurry up and enter the mountain peak. Jun Haoyan said to Emperor Xia. He had a feeling in his heart that there was definitely something good at the top of Mount Tai. Although this feeling was absurd, Jun Haoyan was very sure in his heart. The sky seems to be getting dark. At this moment, Gu Yuehuang raised her head to look at the sky. At the same time, an extremely strange aura descended and swept out in all directions, causing everyone's hair to stand on end. Just as Guyue Huang's voice fell, heaven and earth seemed to be responding to her words. The entire void began to change. At this moment, another strange change occurred. Waves of cold wind blew from the void and swept out in all directions, bringing with it a bone-piercing chill. It was different from the chill he had encountered in the glacier previously. Jun Haoyin felt that this chill actually contained a gust of yin qi. This gust of yin qi seemed to be able to directly ignore true origin and enter one's body without any hindrance, causing one to feel extremely cold. At this moment, the entire world had turned dark. Even the light of the stars in the sky had disappeared. Looking up, one could only see the gloomy sky. Jun Haoyin and the other two stood where they were and didn't continue to move forward. After some observation, they suddenly realized that the night that had suddenly descended seemed to be very different from before. In fact, at the transcendence realm, one's eyes had already broken away from the mortal body. There was no difference between night and day. In the night they looked no different from day. It could be said that the night of the Wuxian continent had no effect on them at all. However, what shocked them was that the night that had descended had actually caused them to lose their vision. Now that they were on Mount Tai, the feeling of night that they hadn't experienced in a long time actually attacked them once again, making them feel the most realistic feeling. Moreover, they realized that the stars that were very close to the Wuxian continent had also lost their luster and became extremely dark. Not even a trace of starlight could be seen. One had to know that when Mount Tai had just started to shake, the starlight was incomparably dazzling and eye-catching. Now, however, nothing was left, only faint afterimages. At the same time, between heaven and earth, a strange, cold and gloomy aura quickly attacked. This aura made Jun Haoyin and the other two extremely unhappy. This feeling of not being in control of everything makes me very unhappy. At this moment, Emperor Xia was frowning, looking extremely unhappy. One had to know that he was a born crown prince and had cultivated the way of the emperor since he was young. His life was destined to be dignified and glorious, like the sun in the sky, shining brilliantly on the world. However, at this moment he felt as if the sun was covered by a black cloth, and he felt a little suffocated. The emperor's qi in his body seemed to be suppressed by this darkness and could not be manifested, which made him extremely unhappy. Jun Haoyin heard this and slowly nodded. He was also very unhappy with the aura here, as if something was secretly spying on them. Look at the moon in the sky. At this moment, Guyue Huang's voice suddenly sounded. Then the two of them looked up. When they saw this scene clearly, their pupils shrank and their eyes were filled with disbelief. As it turned out, the pure and flawless divine moon hanging high in the sky had already started to darken. Then traces of blood-red energy began to seep into the divine moon. A moment later, the divine moon in the sky had completely turned into a snow moon. This snow moon also looked extremely abnormal. The color of the blood moon was a very thick blood red, as if it had been watered with the blood of countless people. Moreover, a dark, cold, ruthless and bloodthirsty aura continuously surged out from the blood moon. This aura made one's skin turn cold and could not be dispelled no matter what. Especially when the blood-red light from the blood moon fell, the entire Mount Tai was dyed red. What the hell is going on? Looking at this, Emperor Xia was shocked. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Even Emperor Xia himself had only seen such a grand occasion a few times. Even in the historical records of the Vermilion Bird dynasty, such a situation could be found. At this moment, Emperor Xia's mind was filled with frustration. This situation had completely exceeded his scope of understanding. Where did this Mount Tai come from? I wonder if the situation in the Wuxian continent is the same as here? Guyue Huang said as she stared at the blood moon in the sky, her face turning pale. At this moment, the entire Mount Tai was dyed blood red. This scene was truly unbelievable. Guyue Huang wanted to know if these strange changes were only happening in Mount Tai or if they were affecting the entire Wuxian continent. It should only be happening in Mount Tai. At this moment, Jun Haoyin suddenly spoke. His eyes looked at the sky, emitting a strong light as if he could see through everything. If it were not for the fact that this was Mount Tai, there would be a strong suppression in the void, preventing him from fully displaying his divine abilities. Otherwise, he might really be able to see what was happening on the blood moon. However, since it was being suppressed, he could still feel that these changes were only happening on Mount Tai. At this moment, Guyue Huang and Emperor Xia were frowning. Under such circumstances, should they continue to move forward? Just as the three of them were hesitating, an extremely shrill scream suddenly reached their ears. This scream was extremely miserable, as if it had encountered the most terrifying thing in the world. It was a heart-wrenching scream. It was as if it had encountered the cruelest punishment in the world and could not bear the pain. Especially at this moment, Jun Haoyin and the other two were in the endless darkness, which was extremely eerie and terrifying. Then, the three of them looked at each other and made a decision to explore. In the next moment, the three of them did not hesitate at all. Their bodies turned into streams of light and quickly moved in the direction of the scream. The shrill scream just now came from a higher place on Mount Tai. When Jun Haoyin and the other two continued to move up, the suppression they felt became stronger and stronger. However, this still could not stop the three of them from moving forward. After half an hour, the three of them finally arrived at the place where the scream came from. However, when they arrived, there was not a trace of any aura left at the scene. Seeing this, the three of them were stunned. The three of them could be said to have heard the previous scream very clearly. They were sure that they had not heard wrongly. Then, the three of them decided to search the surroundings to see if they could find anything. However, at this moment, Jun Haoyin's eyes suddenly flashed. At the same time, the golden qi and blood all over his body suddenly erupted and blasted towards one direction. It was as unstoppable as a thunderbolt. "Come out!" Jun Haoyin's thunderous roar instantly shattered all the surrounding trees and flowers. The qi of heaven and earth was turbulent at this moment. In the next moment, a shadow flickered and fell to the ground, revealing a human figure. At this moment, Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang immediately looked over. Then both of them exclaimed, "The Holy Son of Luo Tian." At this moment, the three of them, including Jun Haoyin, were very shocked. The figure in front of them was actually the new Holy Son of Luo Tian, Holy Land of Luo Tian. Just now, the Holy Son of Luo Tian had hidden his body in a treasure, but it was still detected by Jun Haoyin, who had a powerful soul strength. At this moment, the three of them all looked at the Holy Son of Luo Tian. At this moment, the Holy Son of Luo Tian was trembling non-stop. His eyes were dull and cold sweat was dripping down his forehead. Especially when he saw Jun Haoyin and the others, his face turned pale as if he had seen the most terrifying thing in the world. "Holy Son of Luotian, why are you here alone? I remember that you brought in more than 20 true disciples of Luotian Holy Land. Where are they now?" At this moment, Gu Yuehuang looked at the Holy Son of Luotian and asked in confusion. She clearly remembered that the Holy Son of Luotian had brought in many disciples of Luotian. The strange thing was that the Holy Son of Luotian was the only one left. Hearing Gu Yuehuang's question, the Holy Son of Luotian did not answer at all. His eyes were lifeless and his body was trembling all this time. It seems that he has suffered a great shock. At this moment, Jun Haoyin said slowly. He looked a little helpless. Looking at the Holy Son of Luotian's current state, it was obvious that he had suffered a great shock. When Luotian pulled him out of the treasure and saw him, he was once again frightened. That was the reason for the current situation. After all, Jun Haoyin was not known as the Holy Son's killer for nothing. After a while, the Holy Son of Luotian finally regained a little of his consciousness. He looked at Jun Haoyin and the others and pointed at a place with a trembling finger. "My junior brothers and the others were taken to hell. They were taken to hell." The Holy Son of Luotian's voice was full of fear. His face was full of panic and his whole body was trembling. In his words he actually mentioned the word, hell. Hearing this, Jun Haoyin and the others were shocked. In the martial god continent there was no such thing as hell and ghosts. Even if there were, it was only because some ancient martial art practitioners' souls were too strong and would not disappear after death. Once these souls were born, they could only affect some ancient martial art practitioners and ordinary people with low cultivation levels. However, for someone like Jun Haoyin who was in the Dharma characteristic realm, his rich blood energy made these souls not dare to get close to him. Therefore, there was no such thing as ghosts in the martial god continent. However, according to the legends of the martial god continent, there were no ghosts in this world. Everything was fabricated. Now, the Holy Son of Luotian was saying that he had encountered ghosts and that his true disciples had been taken to hell by these ghosts. How could they believe this? Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang immediately thought that the Holy Son of Luotian was crazy. "Holy Son of Luotian, what did the ghost you saw look like?" Only Jun Haoyin did not directly refute the Holy Son of Luotian's words. Instead, he asked very seriously. He wanted to know more about the situation. During this period, as they continued to move into the inner part of Mount Tai, they discovered more and more secrets hidden in Mount Tai. First, there was the sealed true dragon, then there was the blood moon in the sky. Now, there were the ghosts and hell that the Holy Son of Luotian had mentioned. Everyone couldn't help but feel shocked. Chapter 228. When the Holy Son of Luo Tian heard Jun Haoyin's question, his eyes were filled with fear. It was as if he did not dare to think about what had happened. However, he knew better than anyone else what kind of person the Holy Son of Luo Tian was. After all, Luo Tian was the kind of person who would kill at the slightest disagreement. He was such a powerful and domineering person. If he did not tell the truth or made up a lie, he would probably be killed on the spot. By then, no one would be able to save him. The Holy Son of Luo Tian suddenly panicked at the thought of this. Then, without any hesitation, he began to explain. Those ghosts came out of the gates of hell. It's true. I'm not lying to you. I saw them come out of the gates of hell with my own eyes. The word hell was carved on it. I'm telling the truth. When some people came out of the gates of hell, I asked my junior brothers to check it out. I did not expect my junior brothers to join those people so quickly. I saw that their faces were pale. It was obvious that they had all turned into ghosts. At this point, the Holy Son of Luo Tian's eyes were filled with horror. His body could not stop trembling and his face was filled with disbelief. It was as if he did not want to think about what had happened. What had happened earlier had a great impact on him. His words stunned Guyue Huang and Emperor Xia. This was because they could tell that the Holy Son of Luo Tian was telling the truth. Jun Haoyin furrowed his brows slightly as he thought to himself, could ghosts really exist in this world? He could not believe it. The people of the Wuxian continent were all cultivators. Even if there were ghosts, they would not be afraid. However, seeing the Holy Son of Luo Tian in such a state, they were puzzled. Ah, they're here again. It's them. At this moment, the Holy Son of Luo Tian screamed. His whole body was trembling. The next moment, he turned into a stream of light and disappeared. He had escaped in front of Jun Haoyin and the other two. In fact, Jun Haoyin did not stop him. From the looks of it, the Holy Son of Luo Tian was already crippled. However, they were more concerned about the group of ghosts that Holy Master All Heaven had mentioned. Sure enough, just as they turned their heads, the entire world darkened again. Under the blood-red moonlight, a faintly discernible Fengdu necropolis appeared in front of them. That huge city was extremely large and it was hidden in the dark fog. There were all kinds of pavilions and towers inside, and they emitted a gloomy light. Seeing this scene, Jun Haoyin and the other two were shocked. Look, the city gate. At this moment, Xia Tianzi spoke with a tone of shock. An endless gloomy aura appeared at the entrance of Fengdu Necropolis as figures walked out from it. It was a group of people. Every single one of them was dressed in extremely ancient clothing, to the point where it was impossible to distinguish them. However, outside of that group of people, there were many tall figures. They were clad in armor, holding their weapons and riding horses. Yang energy filled the sky. Jun Haoyin and the other two opened their eyes wide and looked into the city. They could even see the Suzhua Bridge and a river in the city. They seemed to be the rumored Bridge of Helplessness and River of Forgetfulness. The river water was yellow, and there was an endless amount of turbid qi as well as countless white bones and ghosts. They were fighting in the river water trying to escape, but they could not do so. As for the Bridge of Helplessness, it was so long that they could not see it. This scene completely shocked Emperor Xia and Guyue Huang who were present. Even Jun Haoyin was shocked. There were hundreds of people in that group. Some of them were wearing hemp clothes while others were wearing Taoist robes. Moreover, they all looked very ancient and could not be seen clearly. Most importantly, Jun Haoyin and the other two saw a true disciple wearing All Heaven's true disciple robes. The Holy Son of All Heaven was telling the truth. They moved forward silently. Everyone's faces were extremely pale, and there was no sign of life at all. There was only an endless amount of death aura that made one's hair stand on end and their bodies turn cold. Behind these people there were soldiers wearing simple sabers. Some of them were holding heavenly spears, while others were holding up a large flag. The flag was already tattered, and it was impossible to see what was written on it. If one looked at it for a long time, they would feel endless resentment rushing into their minds. Those people who walked out of Fengdu did not have any signs of life. They closed their eyes tightly, and their bodies turned black as they walked forward aimlessly. It was as if they did not know where they came from, nor did they know their destination. These were Yin soldiers. Seeing this, Emperor Xia's expression changed drastically and he said, Yin soldiers. Emperor Xia directly said the name of the obstructing troops, which made everyone feel a chill. Yin soldiers, the legendary soldiers of hell. They usually escorted the souls of the dead to hell to be reborn. However, they actually appeared in Mount Tai. Moreover, these Yin soldiers were in Fengdu, so where were they going? Under the scarlet blood moon, they only felt a bone-piercing chill. Jun Haoyin thought that in the legends of the world, there was once a supreme almighty who created hell and established the 6 paths of reincarnation. But this was a very long time ago and it was a legend. There were no records of it. Although some people could achieve immortality, no one could be sure that they would have a next life. A person's death was like an extinguished lamp. Although immortals could live forever, they were not immortal. As long as one was strong enough, even gods would fall. When gods died, they would not have a next life unless their souls were still around. At this moment, in front of them was a legendary hell. This was a very inconceivable thing because it was something that only appeared in legends. Even in the martial god continent, the world of cultivators, it was only a legend. Now, it had really appeared in front of them. This was unimaginable. At this moment, Jun Haoyin and the others were witnessing this scene with their own eyes. Is there really a legend of the afterlife? Guiyue Huang asked. Looking at Fengdu in the distance and the group of Yin soldiers, she found it hard to imagine. Emperor Xia was even more so. He stared straight ahead as if he wanted to see through the scene in front of him. But even if it were the two of them, they would not dare to approach casually because the aura was too uncomfortable. When Guiyue Huang said that there was an afterlife, Jun Haoyin also fell into deep thought. The saying of an afterlife must be fake. This was almost certain because there had been no such saying since ancient times. Even the saying of the reincarnation of Buddha in Buddhism did not seem convincing. Hell and reincarnation didn't exist at all. Unless there was a peerless powerhouse who had suffered a huge calamity. Then, in the end, he would leave behind his soul and cultivate for a lifetime. This was also possible. But even so, the soul that was left behind would still be him. It would not change. At most, it would be lost. The traces that belonged to that powerhouse between heaven and earth would not disappear. It would only be him, not another person. And death could be understood as true death. Even the traces between heaven and earth would be erased. Therefore, in the next life, it was impossible to become another person and live again. But now that Jun Haoyin and the others had seen the Yin soldiers, it was difficult to explain. Could it be that hell really existed in this world? In Jun Haoyin's guess, perhaps this was just a mysterious inheritance. I don't know. Have you heard of the underworld continent? At this moment, Xia Tianzi spoke, thinking of something. Jun Haoyin and Guiyue Huang nodded at this moment. Of course, they had heard of the underworld continent. Legend had it that it was an ancient world that opposed the god realm. Those in the immortal god realm were all gods. And in the underworld continent, there were ghosts. However, in the ancient legends, the ghosts in the underworld continent were only powerful earth cultivators. Their cultivation system was different from the god realm and even the other great worlds. Legend had it that there was a supreme powerhouse in the underworld continent. He was once a supreme powerhouse in the immortal god realm. Later, he comprehended a supreme technique. He broke through the god realm with the power of ether and descended on the underworld continent. He wanted to create the 6 paths of reincarnation and rule over everyone. It was the life and death of the gods. And he did so. Under his power, the underworld continent and the god realm began to oppose each other, becoming an existence that could stand shoulder to shoulder with the god realm. But in the end, he angered the immortal god realm. A terrifying powerhouse came down and fought with him. In the end, the ruler of hell, along with the underworld continent and the 6 paths of hell that he created, became a forbidden land and disappeared in the Trichiliocosm. No one knew its location. But there were rumors that the 6 paths of hell had always been there, and the Fengdu hell had always been there to receive those who had died. Whether it was demons, or gods, they had to pass through the underworld continent and be judged by the ruler of hell. But all of this was a legend. When the god realm sent down its will, it declared that hell had disappeared. And now, the Fengdu that Jun Haoyin and the others saw was really like the underworld continent described. So, these people are not ghosts but the inheritance of the ruler of hell? Guiyue Huang said with such a speculation. This was because ghosts were simply too shocking. Even if it was the inheritance of the underworld continent. It also made it easier for her to accept. Before everything is clear, it's better not to jump to conclusions. At this moment, Jun Haoyin said. He naturally knew about the underworld continent, but now that Fengdu had appeared in Mount Tai, it was indeed a little unpredictable. Mount Tai and the underworld. These two seemingly unrelated places were actually related to each other in Jun Haoyin's opinion. Because in the legends of his previous life, this was the case. As for whether it was the real underworld or just the inheritance of the underworld world, he couldn't be sure. Why don't we go in and explore? Emperor Xia was really afraid that the world would be no match for him. He directly made such a suggestion. Enter Fengdu to explore. As soon as Emperor Xia said this, Guiyue Huang frowned. Who knew what dangers there would be in that place? If it was really the underworld continent according to the legends, they probably wouldn't be able to cause any waves if they entered. It would be great if we could really enter, but now it seems that there's no chance. At this moment, Jun Haoyan said. At the same time, he gestured for the two of them to look at the place where Fengdu was previously. Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang raised their heads in surprise and disbelief. Because Fengdu, which was still there just now, had disappeared at this moment as if it had never appeared. As for the group of Yin soldiers, they were getting further and further away, as if they had left the martial god continent and were slowly disappearing. Why does everything look fake? Gu Yuehuang asked, her face full of disbelief. The huge city that was still there just now had disappeared, and even its aura could not be felt. She couldn't understand it at all. All of this is real, but we can't come into contact with it yet. Jun Haoyan smiled and said. Whether it was the underworld or not, it was not something they could understand. Even the underworld continent had fought with the divine realm. That level was too high, and perhaps even the Xianhuang continent couldn't compare to it. Even if they knew, there was nothing they could do. There are too many secrets in Mount Tai. If it's not at the peak, what will appear at the peak? Emperor Xia sighed. Ever since he entered Mount Tai, he had become more and more confused. He really wondered if there was really an opportunity on Mount Tai. Now it seemed that it was getting more and more terrifying. No one knew what would appear at the peak of Mount Tai. We'll have to go to the peak to find out. Jun Haoyan said and looked at the peak of Mount Tai. He had a feeling that all the questions he encountered now would be answered there. However, he didn't know what kind of method it would be. The night was very quiet. Even the demonic beasts bred by Mount Tai didn't appear or make a sound. It was so quiet that it made people tremble all over, like the silence before the apocalypse. Countless people had more or less seen terrible things on this night. The night that was soaked in the brilliance of the blood moon was unbearable, even for those who cultivated the earth. As for what exactly happened on this night, no one knew. Jun Haoyan and the other two didn't plan to set off directly. They just stayed where they were. Their intuition told them that if they moved forward rashly tonight, they would probably encounter unimaginable horror. Just like that, time passed bit by bit. The blood moon in the void also returned to its previous appearance when it was close to daytime. Once again, it became white and flawless, without any impurities, hanging high in the void. Not long after, Jun Haoyan opened his eyes. Infinite divine light was surging in his eyes. Golden qi and blood spread out. It was like the lightning punishment of the gods. It rumbled and could destroy all evil. It was also at this time that the sun rose from the east, shooting out thousands of golden rays, illuminating the world. Endless light swept across the earth, and the whole world seemed to be restored to light again. When Gu Yuehuang felt this aura, she, who was originally vigilant, immediately relaxed. This was because this aura was familiar and made her feel very comfortable. It's time to go. At this moment, Jun Haoyan stood up, and a smile appeared on his face. The aura all over his body had reached its peak. After a night, he had strengthened the primordial spirit Dharma power in his body once again, and it was more complete than before. Gu Yuehuang and Emperor Xia both nodded at this time and left with Jun Haoyan. Although Mount Tai was very far away, it was nothing in their eyes. Even if they couldn't fly, it was still the same. At this moment, they only had one goal, and that was to advance to the peak of Mount Tai. At the peak of Mount Tai, light shone in all directions. It looked grand and majestic like a divine mountain. When Jun Haoyan arrived with Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang, the entire peak of Mount Tai was already filled with cultivators. Previously, they had noticed that there were hundreds of thousands of cultivators who had entered the True Dragon Gate. There were countless strong practitioners above the primal core stage. But now, there were only tens of thousands of cultivators left at the peak of Mount Tai. It seemed that many cultivators had already suffered last night. Chapter 229. When Jun Haoyan and the others appeared, the cultivators present also cast their moonlight on him. The holy son of Hao Tian is really here. He didn't encounter any calamity. That's for sure. The holy son of Hao Tian is now the #1 genius in the eastern wilderness. He might even be the #1 genius in the martial god continent. That's right. However, the people from the other great worlds didn't suffer any casualties. Some cultivators spoke up. They weren't very surprised by Jun Haoyan's arrival. After all, Emperor Xia was with him. However, they didn't expect the martial god continent to suffer so many casualties. However, the people from the other continents were unscathed. This made them feel extremely unbalanced. An even deeper thought was that there was a great secret within Mount Tai, and that there was a great creation. However, it belonged to the cultivators of the martial god continent. They didn't want to be taken away by the other great worlds. However, only Jun Haoyan and the others could compete with them. It could be said that they had really placed their hopes on Jun Haoyan. However, Jun Haoyan didn't care about this. He only looked at the center of Mount Tai. A tall stone tablet stood there, exuding an ancient and vicissitude aura. It vaguely emitted a strong pressure as if it could suppress the world. This stone tablet was the one that Jun Haoyan had seen at the bottom of Mount Tai. It was engraved with the words, Jade Emperor Cauldron. Jun Haoyan looked over and saw that the peak of Mount Tai was empty apart from the stone tablet. He didn't even see the ancient altar that Emperor Xia had mentioned. This scene made Jun Haoyan and the other two feel very puzzled. Could it be that the peak of Mount Tai was so empty without any secrets? I was wondering who came. So it's the three of you. Why are you so late? At that moment, an extremely arrogant voice sounded. Hearing the voice, Jun Haoyan and the others immediately looked over and saw that it was Qing Fengzi. At this moment, Qing Fengzi was sitting cross-legged on a rock as he looked at Jun Haoyan and the other two with a sharp gaze. I thought that the so-called number one prodigy of the Central Plains, Emperor Xia, and the number one prodigy of the Eastern Wilderness, Haoyan Holy Sun, had died on the way. In the next moment, Bai Libing from the fantasy spirit continent appeared with a smile. He sat beside Qing Fengzi and looked at Jun Haoyan and the other two with disdain. In fact, the three of them had already reached the summit of Mount Tai yesterday evening. They were indeed much faster than Jun Haoyan's group. When they saw this scene, they all thought that Jun Haoyan and the other two had encountered trouble along the way. This level of strength was not worthy of being their opponent at all. Sigh, what a pity. I didn't expect that we would have to do it ourselves in the end. But it doesn't matter. It's just a little more effort. At this moment, the genius of the boundless continent, Wuxia, opened his eyes slowly and declared with a haughty tone. Before they entered Mount Tai, both sides had already shed all pretense of cordiality. There was no point in continuing to be courteous now. When Xia Tianzi heard the three's mockery, he slowly narrowed his eyes. A violent aura surged from his body and formed a golden dragon. Ah, this is great. The three of you are here. This saves me the trouble of looking for you one by one. As the number one prodigy of the Central Plains, Emperor Xia's strength was unparalleled and he had always been arrogant. When he heard the three's mockery, he naturally wouldn't back down. Immediately after, the Jade Lake Saint, Guyue Huang, also took a step forward. Her beautiful face was filled with coldness. The sword lotuses around her bloomed one after another, exuding a terrifying aura. These terrifying sword intents were enough to cut through space and sever mountains and rivers. Boom. Seeing this scene, Qing Fengzi and the other two stood up immediately. The three of them couldn't stand Jun Haoyan and the other two. At this moment, they were even prepared to attack and kill Jun Haoyan and the rest. During this period, Jun Haoyan's gaze never fell on Qing Fengzi and the other two. He directly ignored the three of them. His attention was still on the stone tablet on the Jade Emperor Peak. Rumble. At this moment, the peak of Mount Tai began to shake violently. Beams of extremely sharp light shot out from the peak of Mount Tai. In the next moment, everyone felt an endless pressure descending from the sky. It was as if an ancient paragon had been reborn and swept across the world. At the same time, countless cracks appeared on the stone tablet on the peak of Mount Tai that was carved with the words Jade Emperor Peak. Every crack exuded an extremely terrifying aura. It was as if the world's barrier had cracked open. Bang! In the next moment, the stone tablet completely exploded. Every piece of it shone with extremely dazzling light. Everyone stared intently at this scene. Within that resplendent light, they seemed to have seen a majestic sky that was incomparably vast. The heavenly palace stood on the peak of Mount Tai, causing the entire world to shake. Boundless light spewed out continuously. In an instant, it filled the entire area and shrouded the peak of Mount Tai. Everyone stared at the scene in front of them in astonishment. Even the conflict that had occurred earlier was forgotten at this moment. Before entering Mount Tai, everyone already knew that there was a huge secret and a great opportunity in Mount Tai. If they could obtain the inheritance and opportunity in Mount Tai, it would be enough to defy the heavens. When the endless divine light descended, everyone was within it. Carefully feeling the divine light, everyone felt as if they were taking a bath. They felt extremely satisfied. The light was like dancing fairies. It was constantly surging and jumping in their pores, flesh and blood. Feeling the changes in their bodies, everyone knew that the divine light that descended just now was beneficial to the cultivation of the martial artists. If they were to soak in it for a long period of time, it would be extremely easy for them to break through. Rumble. At this moment, another thunderous sound came from the void. The deafening sound instantly swept through everyone's mind. At this moment, everyone looked in the direction of the sound. He saw that the sky was slowly appearing, and it was emitting a shocking luster. It was different from the Fengdu that Jun Haoyan saw previously. The current Fengdu felt extremely huge and boundless. The aura that was revealed in Fengdu was cold, resentful, violent, bloodthirsty, and various other negative emotions. These emotions were enough to affect the mind of a martial artist. Everyone looked at the sky in front of them. It was filled with extremely dazzling divine light. It was as if it could cut through everything. It was filled with a grand aura. Just by looking at it, there seemed to be a conflict. When good fortune came to one's heart, one would feel extremely comfortable. Now the sky was the representation of holiness. It blocked all abnormal auras. Especially in the heavenly palace. There were various pavilions and towers. It was as if they were built by the sun, moon, and stars. It was boundless and filled with all kinds of divine light. It made people feel as if as long as they entered the sky, they would enter the realm of the gods. It made people yearn for it. Could this be the legendary heavenly art? At this moment, Qing Fengzi's face was filled with shock. Looking at the majestic palace in front of him, Qing Fengzi was extremely excited. The heavenly palace is the legendary supreme power of the realm of the gods. It is the existence that commands the entire realm of the gods. At this moment, Bai Libing could not help but speak. At this moment, her mind was filled with the legend of the sky and her yearning for it. Entering the heavenly palace will mean entering the realm of the gods. You will achieve eternal life. Looking at the situation, this seems to be the heavenly palace. I have seen it in the ancient books. At this moment, Soundless, who was always cold, widened his eyes in excitement. He squinted his eyes and looked at the heavenly palace. His face was filled with excitement. To them, the heavenly palace was a legendary place because it was created by the supreme existence of the immortal god world. As long as one entered, they would be favored and could become a supreme existence. They were the supreme existence of the 3,000 continents and the realm of the gods. As one of the top 100 existences in the 3,000 continents, they definitely had a good understanding of the realm of the gods. Legend had it that the higher the ranking, the closer it was to the realm of the gods. It was even more so for the number 1 Shenhuang continent of the 3,000 worlds. They were only second to the realm of the gods and could communicate with the god Tribulation at any time. Therefore, Qing Fengzi and the others knew much more about the realm of the gods than Jun Haoyan and the others. However, they did not know why the heavenly palace would appear here, in the Wuxian continent that was not even in the top 500. However, thinking about it carefully, the Wuxian continent was one of the top 10 continents in the ancient era after all. It was normal for the heavenly palace to appear. When Jun Haoyan and the others heard this, they were shocked. They were also slightly shocked. They knew about the legend of the heavenly palace. Even they were shocked. Not to mention the other experts, not to mention the people who were present. Is the heavenly palace on Mount Tai? Will we enter the realm of the gods if we enter there? That must be the case. We can surpass all levels and reach the heavenly palace to become a true god. This is a heaven-defying fortune. Heaven-defying fortune. Let's go. We must enter and become supreme experts. Someone said as he looked at the heavenly palace in the void. He was extremely excited and wanted to enter and become a supreme expert. However, Jun Haoyan looked on coldly. Although he was shocked, he was not overly excited. The heavenly palace was a supreme place in the realm of the gods. Why would it appear on Mount Tai? Moreover, it was so sudden. Even if it was the heavenly palace, it would not be so simple to Jun Haoyan. After all, it was an existence that was above the 3,000 worlds. Therefore he was not excited. He maintained his calm and waited quietly. As for the others, at this moment they all stepped forward, wanting to enter the heavenly palace and obtain supreme fortune. However, they were shocked to find that no matter who it was, they could not fly in the sky in this place. Even a genius like Qing Fengzi could only walk one step at a time. He could not fly. It was as if something was suppressing them, preventing them from flying. Yes, it is the heavenly palace in front of us. If we fly, it would be blasphemy. Bai Libing said. A look of understanding appeared on her face as she made such an explanation. The others nodded at this moment. In front of the heavenly palace, one had to walk one step at a time. It was impossible to fly. Otherwise it would offend the gods. But if that is the case, how are we going to go up? A genius from another world said. The sky was above the void. If they could not fly, it meant that they could not walk up to the heavenly palace. If that was the case, wouldn't they not be able to obtain the fortune of the gods? Bai Li Bing and the others frowned. Yes, if they could not fly, it meant that they could not go up. If that was the case, wouldn't it be a waste of effort to enter Mount Tai? Boom, boom. However, at this moment, the void rumbled again. Mysterious rays of light shot out from the heavenly palace and entered the peak of Mount Tai. As if to answer the doubts of the crowd, the divine rays surged together and kept changing, connecting with the heavenly palace. Not long after, a huge white jade staircase appeared between the heavenly palace and the peak of Mount Tai. The staircase looked very vast. It was one step at a time, reaching the top of the heavenly palace. There were a total of 999 steps. It was very similar to the heavenly steps that Jun Haoyan saw in the small Lane temple. The only difference was that the staircase was very big. It was several times bigger than the ordinary staircase. The higher it went, the bigger it became. Every step was like a platform. It contained endless mysterious aura. It was as if stepping on it was like ascending to heaven. The staircase went up one step at a time. It was very mysterious. It was filled with layers of halos, as if it connected the distance between heaven and earth. Everyone looked at the staircase in surprise. They looked up the staircase and directly looked at the heavenly palace. They knew that as long as they walked up step by step, they would definitely reach the heavenly palace. No one doubted it. In their opinion, this was the opportunity given to them by the gods to ascend to heaven and become gods. Everyone was full of excitement. Their bodies were trembling as they waited for the heavenly palace. Look! At this moment, a martial artist's voice was heard. Immediately, everyone looked in that direction. There, countless divine lights were constantly surging, and a stone tablet appeared on the stone tablet that was originally engraved with the Jade Emperor neck. It was completely different from the previous stone tablet. The stone tablet that had just appeared was extremely mysterious, and it was surging with a vast divine aura. Ascending to the heavenly palace. Right at that moment, everyone was watching. Countless people were excited. This heavenly staircase was actually called the Heavenly Staircase of Ascension? Did that mean that as long as they climbed it, they could really become gods? It must be so. Climbing the heavenly staircase means becoming a god. Becoming a god. It's an opportunity. It can directly become a god. Haha, this is a supreme fortune. At this moment, everyone was excited. If the heavenly palace that appeared before still made them have doubts in their hearts. Now, the heavenly staircase of ascension in front of them had really dispelled those doubts. Who didn't want to become a god? Even a supreme being would want to become an immortal and indestructible god. Not to mention a group of ants like them. At this moment, Qing Fengzi and the others took a step forward and looked at the vast heavenly staircase. Their eyes were full of excitement. When the heavenly staircase was completely formed and turned into a substance, they would directly start to ascend to heaven. Is it true that we can ascend to immortality here? Emperor Xia was puzzled. He looked at the heavenly palace and then looked at the heavenly staircase in front of him. He was really in disbelief. He couldn't believe it. Gods were too far away from them. They couldn't reach them at all. That was the goal of a supreme. Their goal was only to become a supreme. Chapter 230. At this moment, the sudden appearance of the heavenly palace and stairway to heaven could actually help them directly cross the step and become a legendary god. This was simply unbelievable. However, for some reason, ever since they came here, there had been a voice in their minds telling them. As long as they climbed this stairway to heaven and reached the heavenly palace, they could directly become a god. On the way here, they had already seen too many extraordinary things. The terrifying real dragon, the strange Fengdu. These were originally legendary things that could not be seen at all. However, they had seen them all. Compared to these, stepping into the heavenly stage at this moment and becoming a god was not impossible. Holy Son of Haoyan, what do you think of this stairway to heaven? At this moment, although Gu Yuehuang was also very excited, she did not step forward for some reason. Instead, she looked at Jun Haoyan wanting to hear his opinion. As for the others, they were waiting for the stairway to heaven to form, ready to step in at any time. As for Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang, they planned to follow Jun Haoyan. We don't have to rush. Jun Haoyan was silent for a moment, his gaze lingering on the heavenly palace and stairway to heaven for a moment, then he said slowly. At this moment, Jun Haoyan was probably the only one who could still remain calm. Jun Haoyin had always believed that the path to becoming a god was extremely difficult, and even a sovereign might not be able to break through. Even a sovereign might fall on the path to becoming a god and eventually pass away. However, now, the heavenly palace and stairway to heaven that suddenly appeared claimed to be able to directly help people become a god. Jun Haoyin still did not believe this. Jun Haoyin had always believed that the path of cultivation had to be cultivated by oneself, only then would it truly belong to oneself. At the next moment, the stairway to heaven was completely formed at this time, standing between the peak of Mount Tai and the heavenly palace. The vast heavenly palace emitted layers of sacred aura, constantly descending as if it could deify everything. The moment the stairway to heaven was formed, countless people channeled their true origin and rushed forward. However, for some reason, no one directly ascended the stairway to heaven. Although it was called the path to becoming a god, it was actually an unknown thing. No one knew what would happen after entering it. You go take a look first. Qing Fengzi looked at an 8th-stage Imperial Dao realm cultivator beside him. He wasn't from the martial god continent, but another continent. When that person heard Qing Fengzi's words, his body began to tremble. His expression was filled with terror. She instinctively wanted to refuse. However, at this moment, not only Qing Fengzi, even Bai Li Bing, Wu Qian, and Mo Yun had surrounded him. They stared at the warrior in front of them, their expressions full of killing intent. As long as he refused, they would immediately attack without any hesitation. Then they would continue to find other people to go up. That warrior felt an incomparably heavy pressure, and his entire body was trembling non-stop. He didn't want to go up, but he didn't want to die either. At this moment, the cultivator steeled his heart and directly walked out. He used his most powerful power and divine ability and directly headed for the first step of the heaven rank. Boom. The moment he ascended the stairs, the entire heaven staircase trembled slightly and rumbled. It was also at this moment that the steps emitted layers of light that surged into his body, causing the warrior to become even stronger. In a short instant, he went from the 8th stage of the Imperial Dao realm to the 9th stage of the Imperial Dao realm. It was even to the extent that the tribulation of the heavens and the earth had been resolved. At this moment, countless people witnessed the scene before them, and they simply didn't dare believe their eyes. He'd actually broken through just by ascending the heaven staircase. It's the true heaven staircase to become a god. It's absolutely the heaven staircase. Once we ascend it, we'll be able to become a god. Someone roared loudly. Countless people were extremely excited as they stepped forward. Just a single step was enough to allow an Imperial Dao realm cultivator to break through in the Earth Dao realm. If they reached the pinnacle, would they really be able to become a god? On the other hand, Qing Fengzi and the others didn't hesitate at all. They took the lead and directly strode forward. At the same time, countless people moved as well. They intended to ascend the heaven staircase. No one would be indifferent when they were about to become a god. Even Xia Tianzi was the same. He was eager to make a move. However, Jun Haoyin, who stood by his side, still didn't move. Are we still not moving? At this moment, Xia Tianzi, who stood beside Jun Haoyin, spoke. His face was filled with lust and impatience. When that cultivator ascended the first step just now, he'd clearly felt it. He'd really broken through in his cultivation. Moreover, there wasn't any exaggeration. He'd obtained considerable benefits and no one would doubt it. Even Xia Tianzi felt that this step was a supreme fortune. Perhaps it could allow him to break through to the 5th level of the immortal realm. From the origin spirit to the 5th level of the immortal realm. That was extremely difficult. Without fortune and a terrifying foundation, it was almost impossible to break through. Now that the heaven staircase was right in front of them, how could they not be excited? However, Jun Haoyin didn't move. Although Xia Tianzi was anxious, he didn't move either. He looked at Jun Haoyin in front of him, wanting to hear his opinion. After all, the three of them had come together, so no matter what they encountered, whether it was fortune or calamity, they had to advance and retreat together. In this regard, Xia Tianzi was still very steady. This was also the reason why Jiang Qin had a good relationship with him, unlike the others. At this moment, Jun Haoyin's eyes were still indifferent after hearing his words. He only looked at the heaven staircase of the heavenly palace. Let's wait for a while more. His words were very calm and there wasn't any emotion in them. This made Gu Yuehuang and Xia Tianzi look at him in a new light. He's still so calm even after encountering the fortune of becoming an immortal? Moreover, after hearing Jun Haoyin's words, the two of them took a deep breath and calmed themselves down. They didn't act rashly. At this moment, on the other side, Qing Fengzi and the others had already entered the heaven staircase. Without any hesitation they crossed a few heaven staircases at once. Boundless light was circulating around their bodies. It was as if every part of their bodies was divinized. Those lights were like beautiful notes that were dancing on their bodies. The 10 steps had greatly benefited Qing Fengzi and the others. They were faintly close to the peak of the origin spirit Dharma realm. However, their cultivation realm was very high and their talent and foundation were very strong. The energy of the 10 steps was not enough for them to break through to the 5th immortal realm. However, they had already expected this. After all, the energy needed to break through to the next realm was extremely huge. Furthermore, there were 999 steps in front of this heavenly palace. In their opinion, the energy was definitely enough for them to break through to the 5th immortal realm. The energy on the steps is very pure. It can be endlessly poured into the body to nourish the origin spirit. Qing Fengzi said with a slight smile on his face. His eyes were filled with shock. At this moment, Bai Libing and the others nodded. They were indeed worthy of becoming a heavenly god. Even the continent they came from did not have such a fortune. However, the pressure on each step seems to be greater than the previous one. It's like a divine mountain pressing down on our shoulders. Wuxia frowned. He too felt a lot of pressure after ascending the heaven staircase. Especially the changes on the steps, it made him a little shocked. This was just the 10 steps. If they were to ascend more than 100 steps, how much pressure would they have to endure? That's why this is God's test for us. Once we pass it, we will enjoy endless benefits. Mo Yun's heart was filled with excitement, especially after he felt that his cultivation had become increasingly strong. He had an overbearing elder brother who had always suppressed him, leaving him with no room for resistance. However, now that he was at Mount Tai, a place of fortune, Mo Yun saw the hope of surpassing his elder brother. Moreover, what made him most excited was that as long as he continued to ascend, he would definitely be able to break through to the 5th immortal realm. At that time, he would challenge the holy son of Haotian again and choose to wipe away his humiliation. Everyone had their own plans, but they all had a common goal. It was to ascend to the peak and witness the glory of the peak. Then they would obtain the divine fate and rule the world. The few of them felt the energy and continued to move forward. In a short while they had ascended more than 20 steps. Moreover, for their Dharma powers, after every 10 steps, the pressure they had to endure would increase by 1-fold. It would be very difficult for them to continue moving forward. However, this also stimulated their potential. It was as if they were climbing to the peak and continued to move forward. Finally, as they continued to move forward, someone reached the 30th step. From then on, the gap between the geniuses began to stand out. The first to reach the 30th step was Qing Fengzi. He was the strongest and had extremely high talent. Behind him were Wuxia and Bai Libing, who stopped at the 28th step. Their eyes were solemn and they seemed to have become opponents. No one wanted someone to reach the peak before them. If that happened, wouldn't their own fortune be completely gone? As for Mo Yun, he was only standing on the 23rd step as if he was under great pressure. Even so, he was still climbing. At this moment, Mo Yun wanted to use his ascension steps to reach the immortal realm. At that moment, he channeled all the power in his body. His vast magic power surged continuously as he walked up another step. He didn't give up. After all, there were 999 steps in this ascension steps. He hadn't even reached 1% of the steps. He knew that he couldn't stop here. However, the other earth cultivators were all around the 10th step of the ascension steps. They seemed to be under great pressure and couldn't move forward. Hundreds of thousands of cultivators stood on the ascension steps, but it wasn't crowded. They were all trying their best to move forward. It was like the true path of cultivation. One had to climb to the peak and achieve their own supreme path. Now the only ones who hadn't reached the top were Jun Haotian and the other two. They stayed where they were and didn't move. Moreover, the three of them weren't very anxious. In their opinion, even if they climbed at the back, they could reach the peak. How is it? Did you see anything? Emperor Xia asked again. A trace of curiosity appeared on his face. He knew that Jun Haotian had been observing the ascension steps. However, he didn't know which step he had reached yet. He was eager to know. Jun Haotian, on the other hand, shook his head. He really couldn't see anything. Rumble. However, at that moment, an aura belonging to the immortal realm spread in front of countless people. Someone had broken through to the immortal realm. This aura appeared out of nowhere, causing everyone to raise their heads and look in front of them. On the steps, Mo Yun's body was emitting a strong light. All kinds of auras were surging out continuously. Even someone like Qing Fengzi turned around, focusing all of his attention on him. At this moment, Mo Yun was emitting the aura of the Immortal Realm Level 5. It was incomparably strong. The primordial spirit between his eyebrows had merged with his body. This was the biggest difference between the Immortal Realm and the primordial spirit Dharma plane. It was the fusion of the primordial spirit and the body. Then, the body would transform and leave the original state to form a new body. The vitality and constitution would be reversed. Then, the lifespan would break through 10,000 years and become a true ancient powerhouse. Mo Yun was going through this step now. The strong light engulfed him and his primordial spirit completely disappeared, allowing him to take another step. At this moment, whether it was in terms of aura or strength, he was much stronger than before. Countless people were shocked when they saw this scene. The Immortal Realm level is advancing so quickly? Yeah, the ascension steps are really magical. Originally, the Immortal Realm level was difficult to break through. Even if it did, it would take a long time. But now, Mo Yun completed it so quickly. Is it because his talent is extremely high, or is it because of the ascension step? Everyone present spoke in disbelief because this speed was too fast. The fusion of the primordial spirit and the body required a long time, and it required sufficient preparation. But now, Mo Yun was too fast. It was almost completed in an instant. It could be said to be inconceivable. However, Qing Fengzi and the others didn't have much of a reaction after seeing this scene. Because in cultivation, the deeper the foundation and the higher the talent, the harder it was to advance. This was something that everyone believed. And the harder it was to advance, the stronger one would be after advancing. The Immortal Realm Level 5 was too important, especially when it came to the Emperor Realm in the future or even higher realms. The deeper the foundation in this realm, the greater the benefits one would get in the future. Advancing in advance wasn't a good thing. However, they were still a little anxious in their hearts. After all, Mo Yun had already reached the Immortal Realm. Immediately, Qing Fengzi and the others didn't hesitate and continued to climb. As long as they continued to climb, it wouldn't be long before they also obtained a good fortune and reached the Immortal Realm Level 5. So they climbed harder and harder, and at this time, more and more people were faintly breaking through. This was especially true for those with lower cultivation bases. Every time they climbed, they would at least save many years of bitter cultivation. Ha ha ha, you didn't expect it, right? I'm the first one to enter the Immortal Realm. At this moment, Mo Yun was familiar with all the power and became a true eternal giant. Every move was very shocking. After entering the Immortal Realm level, he only felt that his strength in all aspects had increased tremendously. At this moment, he focused all his attention on Jun Haotian. Holy son of Haotian, you defeated me before. This time I'll wash away the shame. The first thing Mo Yun did after reaching the Immortal Realm Level 5 was to find trouble with Jun Haotian to regain the face he had lost before. Countless people looked at Jun Haotian at this time. Jun Haotian, who still hadn't reached the heaven stage to become a god. They didn't know why this holy son of Haotian didn't make a move with such a good fortune. However, at this time, Jun Haotian heard Mo Yun's words and a smile appeared on his face. He walked out slowly, and every step was as heavy as an immemorial divine mountain, looking extremely terrifying. You don't need to say it, I will kill you myself. Jun Haotian spoke as calm and domineering as ever. Even if Mo Yun entered the Immortal Realm level, he wasn't afraid. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.